National Signing Day. I'm Geoff Ketchum. That's Anwar Richardson. It's our first ever 3-hour live show on National Signing Day. Thank you for joining us. There will be news and analysis and guests, and we're really excited to bring the live show component of what we've done on the post-game shows to National Signing Day. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are over 9,000. I just watched it go up, 9,169. It's a big dream. We would love for that to be at 10,000 by the end of the day, end of the week, whatever. That's our go. That's what we're aiming for. Anwar Richardson, welcome. It's your first 3-hour National Signing Day show. Before we get into news and notes and update everybody on what's happening, just give me some initial impressions of what your expectations are for the day.
Well, it's long. 3 hours of this. And then, we got Sarkisian this afternoon. He's going to have a press conference at 3:30 and stuff. So we got some time to get into it. It's funny. I woke up early this morning. I've been up since like 5:30ish or so. I had a question that I wanted to start it off with.
Okay.
I want either your favorite signing day moment, or if you don't have a moment, favorite recruit that you've covered.
I mean, gosh, my favorite signing day moment.
Most memorable.
I think one of the most memorable ones was Jason Howell was working with us back in 2013, 2014, and Shiro Davis, who ended up not having a huge career at Texas, but he flipped. He signed with Texas on National Signing Day, and nobody saw that one coming 7 or 8 years ago. But we got tipped off, and we sent Jason Howell to Louisiana for the announcement. So when it happened and the entire world was kind of shocked by it, we were the only ones on the spot to have live reaction, pictures, analysis. That one really sticks out in my mind. My favorite recruit of all time might be a running back named Marcus Houston that signed with Colorado. He was a 5-star running back in the class of 2000. I thought that guy was going to be the president of the United States when I got to know him. There's been so many. His name popped into my head as a favorite. Welcome, everybody. There's a lot to get into today. Let's start with the news of the day as of 8:03. Because there actually has already been news today. By the way, Adam Gorney of Rivals.com will join us in about 7 minutes. He'll be our first guest. We'll get some national analysis of what's already happened this morning and what we're expecting over the course of the day. The Longhorns already have a number of guys. I would say 40% of the class is already in, and that includes Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers first got assigned today. So weirdly, if you'd asked Texas fans 12 months ago who's the guy that they would love to have signed, sealed, and delivered as the first guy in the hen house on National Signing Day, Anwar, everybody would have said Quinn Ewers. He was in Brighton early among the other names that have already signed.
Before you go too far on that one, Catch, I think there needs to be a little distinction there because
he's a transfer.
He's a transfer, right? And so like people have asked us hey, so how does this affect the 2022 class? Understand he actually played in games. He's actually a transfer. It doesn't count towards the recruiting rankings. So and thank you. I'm glad you appreciate the paint job, by the way. But people have loved the transformation of the home. I've tried to make it more of a home for my boys. But yeah, just for that distinction for going forward, hey, just so you know, transfer doesn't count towards the 2022 class. Okay.
So of the names that are already in, Kelvin Banks in, Justin Finkley, who will join us in the 10 o'clock hour here on the Orangebloods live National Signing Day show, he's in. Jamon Tapp, he's in. Jere Bledsoe, Derek Brown, Austin Jordan, Brian Allen, Travell Johnson, Jaden Blue, in. Like I said, it happens fast and furious on National Signing Day with regards to getting the letters of intent in. The biggest piece of news, Xavier Bryce flips on signing day. The Arlington Seguin cornerback / athlete. I think he's got a great frame to play cornerback. He's a really good-looking athlete at 6'2", 170. He's been committed to Oklahoma since the summer. He had been flirting with Texas really for the last week. He took a visit this past weekend. His signature, I don't think his national letter of intent is, but Anwar, he had a ceremony literally, I think, as we're speaking right now, he announces his flip to Texas. So he will sign presumably while we're on the air doing this show. And the Longhorns the Longhorns flip back and forth with a couple of guys. Oklahoma loses Kobe McKenzie, the linebacker, to Texas, and then has him flip back this week back to Oklahoma. He's already signed, sealed, and delivered. But the Longhorns do take one back from Oklahoma, a cornerback, Xavier Bryce. Austin Wood, former Longhorn pitcher, asked top 5 class. I think so. I mean, the fireworks aren't over. We're watching Denver Harris today. We're watching Terrence Brooks today. There's still a number of guys. We're watching Austin Westlake, defensive lineman. I'm drawing a blank. Ethan Burke. He's going to make his announcement early at some point today. Committed to Michigan. The expectation is that he will flip to Texas. So it's a day on where we're going to have a lot of news and notes, and things will be happening while we're on the air, which is why this is fun, because typically National Signing Day has been really boring for Texas fans traditionally. I mean, usually the hay's in the barn. There aren't any real National Signing Day surprises. And, today that might not be the case.
So let's go back to Xavier. He played obviously quarterback in high school, Catch, and talk about like maybe a little bit of the transformation, because did he play on both sides of the ball? Because most of his highlights are QB highlights. So I'm just kind of curious, did he play both sides, or he just mostly projected to play?
Who were we talking about? I missed that for a second.
Xavier Bryce.
They did a little bit of everything with him. I mean, when I watched his senior film, the first thing that jumped out about him to me is that he's just a good-looking athlete. I didn't know necessarily that his film blew me away, but you can just see him off the hoof that he's a good-looking kid. Play some receiver, play some defensive back, kind of a jack of all trades for Arlington Seguin. And a guy that both Texas and Oklahoma coveted quite a bit during the summer. He's not ranked very high. He's a mid 3-star in the Rivals.com rankings. To me, he's got kind of 4-star physical attributes, and he's a 3-star player at this point. I think he's a little bit of a project, but when you look at the physical attributes that he brings to the table, he's got the upside to be a really good player. I don't know that I look at him as a guy that would come in and compete right away in that Texas secondary, but maybe, because the one thing you and I know as we get ready to do this show, and one of the themes that we'll be talking about all day long with regards to a lot of this recruiting class, is this is a Texas team that needs immediate contributors. Defensive line, offensive line, certainly in the secondary. So, we know that this is a program that suddenly has massive needs in the back end of the secondary. Can Xavier Bryce come in and be a guy that early on could compete and earn playing time there? I think he's going to get the opportunity. I mean, that's the one thing that so many of today's signees have in common. It's the fact that Texas needs immediate help when you're coming off of a 5-7. Real quick, Brennan Thompson, the national top 100 athlete that will be playing wide receiver. I think he's an inside slot guy that will probably compete for playing time with Jordan Whittington this year. He's signed. Christopher Ross, the defensive tackle from Galena Park North Shore, within the last minute, he's signed. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Nothing that should be unexpected, but that is the absolute latest at this point with regards to who is in, who is out. Texas looks to be about halfway home and getting the players that are committed to signed and delivered. And so far, we're just moving right on along.
Cool. I think we got a guest waiting for us, Ketch.
We do. Our first guest is ready to go. Adam Gorney, Rivals.com national analyst, joining us on National Signing Day very early in the show. Adam, we're just getting started, frankly. So give us an idea from your perspective. The biggest news of the morning so far is?
Well, nationally, the biggest news is that Jason Barham, a high four-star defensive end who had been committed to South Carolina for just a few days, flipped to Maryland. And a Penn State commit, Andre Roy, an offensive lineman who had been committed to Penn State for a while, flipped to Maryland as well. So a lot of news out of Maryland. Jake Johnson, who had been committed to LSU, to Texas A&M. That might mean his brother, Max Johnson, well-known quarterback, could be going to Texas A&M as well too. So early on in the morning, some flips here. Not a ton of news nationally on the highest rated guys. But that's coming.
Mike Locksley pulling it off, huh? That's amazing.
Yeah. You got Adam to chuckle on an early portion of the Wednesday show. So, Adam, we'll jump in about Texas. The Lone Star State in general probably will be at the center of a lot of discussion today. Texas enters today as the number 5 class in the Rivals.com rankings. They picked up Xavier Bryce. That likely won't move the needle in terms of the recruiting rankings a whole lot, but there's still guys, what happens with Evan Stewart, what happens with Denver Harris, Texas and Texas A&M, and the battle and jostling inside the state for the last remaining big-time guys on the table. Big part of, obviously, what we'll be watching, but will kind of define a lot of the talking points from the day, especially if A&M is able to move into the number 1 class position, which is on the table if they get enough things that go right for them.
Yeah, I mean, if they get everything going right for them and sign the guys that they're supposed to, it could be really the number 1 class. And Jimbo's gone around and told recruits that he's going to sign a historic class, and that might not just be lip service this year. Harold Perkins, Anthony Lucas. It looks like Walter Nolan's settling in. If they keep Stewart, that's going to be a phenomenal group, a very talented group, especially along that defensive line. We know that they can develop guys there. They have over the years, and this could be his best group. That means no excuses for him anymore. No 8-4 seasons anymore. That's not what they're paying him so much money for. To get this class, though, if he does it, it would be really, really impressive.
Real quick, breaking news on the Texas side of things. Neto Amozolo officially committed to Texas 2 nights ago. Yesterday, admittedly, was having some second thoughts. A big piece of the puzzle for the Longhorns. He's officially in-house. So if you're watching the show and was wondering what was going to happen with Neto, he's officially in. Adam, for Texas, this offensive line class has come together significantly for Texas in the last week with both the acquisition of Neto and Kelvin Banks. Nationally, is Texas, and they're not done. They're still waiting to hear from Devin Campbell. What has to happen for Texas to finish with what would be regarded as the best offensive line class in the nation?
Yeah, I mean, really, they should thank Mario Cristobal a whole lot, because I think Kelvin Banks sticks if he stays at Oregon. I think Cameron Williams sticks if he stays at Oregon. So I think those two, and we've seen this for, over a decade now of, late moves, and recruiting really happens in the last few weeks. And Kelvin Banks is absolutely huge for them. A complete priority, as you guys were talking about before I came on, just about, loading up on the offensive line. He's the number 1 offensive tackle in the class. If they can get Devin Campbell, that's humongous. Malik Ogbo is a massive 320-pound kid who's still in play. Getting Neto, who was really a guy who was kind of, I wouldn't say under the radar, but someone who certainly didn't really involve himself much in the recruiting process, to come along. Cameron Williams is a kid who plays basketball at that weight, so he can move a little bit. But just that beef up front is exactly what they need. It's anybody who watches Texas football and is listening to this absolutely knows that. They've got some athletic tackles in this class and a lot of muscle inside. So they definitely loaded up there, and it's absolutely for sure in the running for the #1 offensive tackle group in the country.
Adam, when you look at the signing, the guys who are committed to Texas, the guys going to sign, who are the guys, I'm curious, that you like the most? Like, are there a couple of guys that you say, like, these are my guys that I follow them and I absolutely co-sign on them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it starts with Kelvin Banks again. The offensive tackle group for the 2022 class is still kind of fluid. It's not like we're absolutely in love with one guy. Julian Armello was #1 for a while. We moved him down. We loved Banks at the Rivals camp in Dallas in the spring, so we moved him up. But I think the All-Star events are really going to play a big factor in that. Brendan Thompson is a guy that, out in Spearman, you don't see a lot. He didn't do a lot of national events, but in terms of speed and playmaking ability and, adding weight once he gets to college, I think that is a kid who's going to be super, super special. I think Jalen Gilbo, getting him back in the class is really important, and a guy that we've really liked at a lot of events, just a shutdown corner who kind of attacks you and gets after it a lot. So there are a lot of names in this class who I really, really like. And then the quarterback, Malik Murphy is a guy, who's really intriguing. When he shows up and you see him for the first time, he looks like Cam Newton. I mean, he's huge and he has a big arm. It's just he wasn't surrounded with a lot of talent on his high school football team. So you wonder if the stats are, is he not a great game player, or does he just not have anybody to throw to? I think it's the latter. And I think he's going to come to Texas and compete for a job. I was told that he feels he's just as good, if not better, than Quinn Ewers, and he's coming to compete. He's not coming to sit behind anybody. I love that attitude. I love that competitive drive, and I think it's going to serve him well in Austin.
Adam, with regards to Malik Murphy, take us behind the curtain a little bit on his ranking. He's a guy that when he committed was a national top 50 guy, if I can remember kind of where he was slotted, maybe top 60, somewhere in that category as a high 4-star prospect. Kind of has a brutal, you referenced it, the team that he played on, he weirdly had played 0 games going into the year, but because of the way California handled the COVID year, he's played a bunch of football in 2021, 2 seasons in 12 months, essentially. Junior year, not good. Senior year, really good. They've won a state championship, and suddenly it feels like the junior year didn't so much as ever happen. He drops a little bit in the rankings recently in the updated Rivals rankings. I think a lot of Texas fans anticipated that he might go up because he finally had performances that backed up the reputation, so to speak. Just from y'all's perspective, what do the conversations sound like with regards to Malik and his development over the course of the last 12 months, but certainly last 3?
Yeah, certainly. And this has been one that has plagued me, because when he was at the Elite 11, he looked like he was one of the top 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the country. From a physical standpoint, he's absolutely up there and looks phenomenal. But then you see him in games, and he is not as elite as the Cade Klubniks out there and the Connor Weigmans and all of the guys who are ranked that high. So there's certainly no way that we dislike Malik Murphy at all. It's just a question of where we should place him in terms of how he's performed in games. And so, Gardena Serra is a phenomenal program, one of the best in California, evidenced by them winning a state championship. But it was in a lower division. And really, to be completely honest, Southern California football is completely and 100% dominated by Bosco and Mater Dei and Servite and the Trinity League teams. It's almost like if you don't play at those schools, you're not surrounding yourself with Division I talent. So when you see Malik Murphy on the sideline, you see him warming up, you see him in camp settings, you see him at the Elite 11, there's no doubt he's a top 50 player and looks like as good as a quarterback could possibly look. But in games, there's, throwing behind guys, leading guys a little too much. And I've questioned myself, is that because in games he's not reading things quickly enough and picking it up? Or is it because he's throwing it to the spot where it's supposed to be and guys can't run under it? So those are the questions we have. We moved him down a little bit, but we still like Malik Murphy very, very much. And I think when surrounded by a lot of elite talent, like he will be at Texas, that he will shine. It's just a question of we have to hedge our bet a little bit there because of his, fine performances in high school, but not to the level of some of the guys that we've seen above him.
Adam, by the way, you've been providing great stuff, so thank you so much. This is going to be the last questions for me, and I think Ketch is going to have another one. I'm kind of curious, big picture perspective, Adam. NIL has become such a huge thing, and it's become even bigger here in Texas. I know you've heard about the offensive linemen who would get $50,000. So we've kind of gone from name, image, and likeness to kind of pay for play, but we kind of go into some kind of gray area here. But I'm kind of curious, how much did you hear about NIL with recruits this year? Was that kind of a determining factor for a lot of different guys? And I'm kind of curious, from when you hear it from a Texas perspective, kind of what's the national view of the NIL things that Texas is doing down here? I mean, we've heard projections that, Quinn can make, at least $5 million here with NIL, and that was supposed to be part of the decision-making process. I'm just kind of NIL, just kind of put it on the table for you and give me your thoughts.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting thing and has changed recruiting in a lot of ways. The way that I've kind of see it being played out so far is that kids really don't want to, they want to say that they've addressed it during their visits, but they don't really want to get too involved in what they've been offered, how much they could make at certain places. Recruiting is all rumors, and behind the scenes, I've heard rumors of kids basically saying that they have NIL deals in place already if they go to a certain school, which apparently would seem like an NCAA violation. You can't get started until you actually get to that school. So I think there's still a ton of gray area in there, and kids are resistant to really tell, me at least, what they have in place in certain places. There's absolutely no doubt that the NCAA is going to look at this closer, and as we go through this, try to figure out exactly what's going on. Like you said, Anwar, I don't want to say pay for play, but there are certainly situations out there where it's been made clear to kids that if you come here, this is what you're going to make, and this is how you could, profit off your name, image, likeness. There is certainly a gray area there, but it is definitely, on the line of where this is intended to be. So when I started a lot, I've kind of actually researched this pretty good, just because I know it's going to change recruiting in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And I thought that the big city schools, LA, maybe even Austin, in a lot of ways, were going to be the ones that would benefit it from the most. A lot of people in NIL told me it would be the small school, like the small city schools, Clemson, South Carolina, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, because that's all they have there. That's all that matters. But really, it's been sort of both. I mean, a lot of big money in Austin is coming into this, obviously. A lot of big money in Tuscaloosa has come into this. So it's, Bryce Young has already made $1 million apparently, and Quinn Ewers can make a lot more at Texas even before taking a snap. So it's really something that has certainly changed the recruiting landscape. One person told me it would be like, guys go there to meet the dean of the business school. They go there to meet the strength and conditioning coach. And now they're going to go meet the NIL department. And to be completely honest with you, anybody can, do bicep curls, but not everybody can deliver $1 million to a kid. I think NIL is going to play a huge factor moving forward. Even if kids don't say it after they get off of their recruiting visits, it's playing massive factors in a lot of kids' decisions.
No. Adam, you've got a lot of stuff to do. We've kept you for nearly 15 minutes. Get out of here. Go do the rest of your, like you've got nothing else to do today. We really do appreciate a little bit of time today. Go do what you've got to go do. And Adam Gorney from Rivals.com, national analyst, our first guest on our 3-hour signing day show today. Adam, be well. Thanks a lot.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks, Adam.
Jason Suchomel will be joining us momentarily here. Anwar, a little bit of breaking news. Our first bit of true breaking news on our show today. Austin Westlake defensive lineman Ethan Burke flips. It's Flipmas. He flips from Michigan to Texas. This one's kind of a strange one for me. I didn't think that Texas would be going in on a 3-star defensive lineman with numbers getting tight. He's an interesting dude. We could talk to Jason Suchomel about this. He and I were talking yesterday. I got a phone call from one of my Westlake guys. It was like, hey, Texas is like doing it with Ethan Burke. And we checked in on it, and we talked with Ethan last night. Jason did, and Ethan was like, I'll have a decision later tonight. I think he officially made the decision to flip from Michigan to Texas last night, announces it literally 2 minutes ago with a tweet that says, change of plans, staying home. I would like to thank Coach Salazar, Coach Vasic, and Coach Dodds for making this happen. Looking forward to the future. Longhorns adding by staying local. Like I said, Jason Suchomel will join us, it looks like, in 5 minutes. Also, Terrence Brooks, big-time national top 100 defensive back. He will announce in the next 20 minutes, 8:45 a.m. He's scheduled to announce his official announcement, committed to Ohio State, but the Longhorns have been working on him. I think there's some thought that he also today will flip to Texas. So we talked about it. We were going to have breaking news. Our first bit of breaking news comes in. This one, like I said, Ethan Burke to Texas is all kinds of interesting for me. He's a lacrosse player. He's 6'7".
Yeah,
and
watching this stuff right now.
And I talked to my guy from Westlake yesterday, and he thought that Ethan was about 225. He looks skinny, but it's because he's 6'7". Like, he's a long, lean guy. That frame on you versus that frame on him is a little bit different. So he's a guy that I think's raw and developing, but he's got a frame where in 3 years, if you told me he was 6'7", 270, I can absolutely buy it. And who knows what the hell you've got on your hands at that point if he's a guy that can – it's going to take some time. He needs coaching and development, but you can see what it is about him that they would like.
First of all, I love his footwork. Just like watching the film right now, just get instant reaction. Like, I love his footwork. His ability to get off the ball, a couple of spin moves that he put in there. Like, he is agile. So yeah, the key is going to be adding the weight, but not losing some of that quickness. But if you can do that, and there's the other thing I like about him, man, Catch, I love guys who play for winning programs.
Yeah.
I do, man. You come from, because those guys know how to put in the work. Those guys know what the grind is like. And when you come from a Westlake program where winning is the norm, where they really start you at Westlake, which is really impressive, start from a young age, like at Westlake, and really getting you funneled into that program and then building you up from, the elementary to the middle school to getting to that senior high school thing, and then being able to know when you come here, the expectation at Westlake is you're going to go to state. Like, that's it. Like, anything else is like a disappointment at that point. And the fact that he comes from a winning program with Coach Dodge and everything they do, I'm competing for another state title. And he was a force, if I remember correctly, Catch, last year in the state championship game, if I remember. I got to go back and maybe even look at it, but I remember seeing him on multiple occasions as a standout, and I remember obviously with him and going against Quinn last year. But he's a guy, like you said, a couple of years, put him in the system. He's a guy that I would think 2 years from now we're saying, okay, like you said, maybe he's at the 275, maybe he's at that 260-ish mark. He's a guy that you say, man, with that long frame, he could be nasty.
It's funny. You can see Green Valley 6 mentions he should move the tight end, already aggressive playing D. I don't think the tight end thing's out of the question. I don't know that they've signed him with tight end in mind, but when you watch his film, he's an interesting – he moves really well. I don't know that his burst and he's not a quick twitch guy for me. Like, his raw athleticism doesn't jump off the map for me, which is why I think he's probably a 3-star. But he moves well. He's got good footwork. And it doesn't, then you find out he's a lacrosse player. It's like, oh, okay, he's one of those guys. Because I know that you, having been in the NFL, lacrosse guys started to be a thing in the league where, kind of sleepers that went to schools that weren't football players but had the physical requisites to make that transition. He's going to be a fun guy to keep an eye on. And as we wait for Jason Suchomel to join us here any moment now, he gets to play this weekend in the state championship game. Yeah. And it will be fun to watch that guy. That's another guy. It's not a huge thing, but like you said, you like guys that come from winning programs. He'll be playing for a state championship this weekend, along with Cade Klubnik, who signs with Clemson, along with Connor Robertson signing with Texas. It'll be clearly they felt like he was a guy they had to have. That it took so long, and they really went in on him yesterday. It'll be interesting to see what Sarkisian says about this kid in particular over the course at 3:30 when he meets with the media. He'll get a lot of Quinn Ewers question, but certainly he'll get a question about. I'm just curious to see what he says.
Yeah, I mean, it's an impressive, and then we start looking at the defensive linemen that they've put together. Like what you were saying, Ketch, they've had 6 already. Did they go into today with 6? I think already committed. I'm looking at the list right now. So you add in a 7th. I mean, at that point, you're just throwing numbers at it and saying somebody pop off, somebody go ahead and get in here. It's we'll get into. We got plenty of time, Ketch. We'll get into how this they're closing out as strongly as they are. But picking up Xavier and picking up this, Ethan, has some surprises, kind of at the last minute. I mean, it's looking really good, so far, Ketch.
Hey, Michael, let's bring in Jason Suchomel. I don't know how long we'll have Jason in this hour. Terrence Brooks scheduled to announce his decision at 8:45. That could take 5 minutes. I mean, it may not happen right at 8:45. Zach Swanson from Phoenix, Arizona, Brophy Prep. He's officially in the Longhorn Network announcing that he's signed. Jason, welcome. It's a busy, hectic day. A lot of things have already happened. NATO, the biggest news of all may be that NATO Omozolo is in after discussion last night of him having potentially cold feet and just wanting to think about it. He's signed. Ewers is signed. A lot of this class is already in the barn. Your thoughts on where your head is and what you'll be watching most closely, starting in 12 minutes with obviously Terrence Brooks.
Well, my head is kind of on a swivel. I've got 3 computer monitors going. I've got my phone in front of me here, so I'm watching a little bit of everything and trying to keep up. But a little bit of a surprise, not a surprise. Texas flips Xavier Bryce from Oklahoma. I talked to Xavier Bryce, the DB at Arlington Seguin, on Sunday. He was on his way home from the Texas official visit. He told me, hey, he's going to flip to Texas, but between Sunday and Wednesday, a lot of crazy things, too many to even recount, have happened. So, I was wondering this morning, hey, is it still going to be Texas? Is Texas going to have room for him? There's talk of Texas being in play. You mentioned Terrence Brooks announcing in a little bit. Denver Harris. A lot going on, a lot to keep up with this morning. Obviously, Texas gets a big flip this morning from Ethan Burke, the defensive end from Westlake, who commits to Texas, was committed to Michigan for about a week. You mentioned it, Ketch. I heard you when I was waiting. I mean, you got word of that yesterday. I talked to Ethan yesterday afternoon or early evening, and I kind of caught him off guard. And I said, hey, man, I'm hearing this and this. And he goes, hey, I'll call you back in an hour. And I was like, oh, great. I'll never hear back from Ethan Burke again. Well, lo and behold, he called me not late last night, about 9 o'clock last night, and said, hey, I am going to flip to Texas. So wasn't a big surprise there. We kind of teased that one a little bit, but yeah, so far it's been a very productive day for Texas. There's a couple guys that we're going to sign, that I guess have been committed that I think are not going to sign today. And that's kind of by design, the way some of this stuff just works for people who follow recruiting. Other guys come in, maybe other guys have to wait a little bit. But the big story this morning, I think, Ketch, so far, with all due respect to Ethan Burke, like you said, I think NATO, and I'm going to butcher his name, Amazolo.
There you go.
Yeah, I actually hit up two of his coaches yesterday to get phonetic pronunciations, and I'm still probably messing it up. But him signing with Texas this morning, there were some very nervous moments last night. He took off all the mentions of his Texas commitment off of social media, literally less than 24 hours after he committed to Texas. He was having cold feet. That's never a good sign, man. But, Kyle Flood did a good job. Texas's offensive line coach talked to him and his parents. I was told last night, actually, NATO's parents, we'll just go with NATO from here on out. NATO's parents are going to have a big hand in this final decision. They love the academics at Texas. NATO wants to study business. Good job of Texas to kind of button that one up this morning and get NATO on board. A huge pickup for Kyle Flood along the offensive line, along with Kelvin Banks, who was, I think, the first, Quinn Ewers was the first one announced as a transfer. I think Kelvin was the first one to actually send in his letter of intent today, if I'm not mistaken. So some big offensive line additions. And in fact, Connor Robertson from Austin Westlake just sent his in about 10 minutes ago. So that's two Westlake kids that Texas has landed today.
Jason, I've got two questions for you. The first is, can you give us your breakdown on Xavier Bryce? As a prospect, what you think about him? I know he plays a lot of quarterback, but projected as a cornerback, in college. And listen, if Ketch and I had at least $1 for every time we saw Evan Stewart being asked about on the side here on the screen, he and I would probably have about $100. Probably
counting. Yeah.
Can we make that happen? I'll take $100.
So, can you just give people an update, because people are asking about that? So Xavier and then Evan, please.
Yeah, I'll touch on Xavier real quickly. Xavier plays, like you mentioned, Anwar, he's classified as an athlete on Rivals. Obviously, he was committed to Oklahoma. Not the highest rated guy, but he's a guy, a 3-star prospect. But I think he's a guy with a lot of potential. He just, he needs to kind of settle into a position, but he's athletic. He's got good size. He plays for a 7-on-7 program in the Dallas area called True Buzz, which is one of the better 7-on-7 programs in the state. He plays with Jamel Johnson, who's a 2023 Texas commit. There's some really good underclassmen on that same team. So, getting a guy like Xavier Bryce on board can pay dividends with other guys down the future too. So, Texas needs help at the defensive backfield position. It's no secret. We'll talk about Denver. I see his name popping up quite a bit here as well. But we'll talk. Texas needs help in the secondary. I mean, they've started to kind of load up with this class. They're still trying to close on one or two others. Xavier Bryce isn't a guy that I think is going to move the needle nationally. But listen, anytime you can steal a guy that Oklahoma had committed for several months, Oklahoma wanted to commit. Brent Venables, or wanted to retain. Brent Venables did a good job they tried to retain him. That tells you something. I mean, obviously he's a good player, good athlete. I would call him a rangy athlete, but he's going to take some time, I think, to settle in at corner. Probably not a guy that's going to come in and compete right away. Maybe on special teams, maybe as a return guy, he could help. Evan Stewart, you asked about Anwar. Man, it'll probably change literally by the time I'm done answering this question. We might have a change with Evan. But when I was checking on Evan yesterday and a bunch of other guys, and this cycle has been like nothing I've ever seen before. Things are changing by the minute, certainly by the hour. Yesterday, early afternoon, I talked to a Texas A&M source, and they said, hey, we feel pretty good about Evan signing with Texas A&M. He was on campus last weekend. He was telling people he was going to sign with Texas A&M. He was talking about who he's going to room with. I mean, he was making plans that far down the road. Sam Spiegelman and I were talking. Well, Sam, to give credit to Sam, he talked to someone close to Evan it was kind of a throwaway. He was talking to this person about some other players, and he said, "Hey, what's the latest with Evan?" And the guy was like, "Oh, he's signing with A&M tomorrow. No questions asked. He's going to sign with A&M. He's going to enroll early." So yesterday afternoon, all signs were like, "Okay, it's A&M, and it's really not that big of a mystery as maybe everybody in Austin wants it to be." Then last night, if you pay attention to the social media tea leaves, Evan removed some of the A&M mentions from his social media post, from his I think it's his Twitter profile. So I'm not expecting him to be in this class, but I've on our modcast and everything else, every time we've talked about Evan Stewart, always expect the unexpected with Evan Stewart to some degree, because nothing with Evan would be a surprise. As it stands right now, he hasn't signed yet. So, and I don't know if he has a scheduled signing announcement. I don't think he does, but the longer it goes on, the better it is for Texas. But I'm still thinking, I haven't heard any differently, so I'm still thinking it's going to be Texas A&M until I hear some real substance there. But, he's a guy, again, I mean, nothing that Evan Stewart does will surprise me.
Jason, Terrence Brooks scheduled to announce in the next 5 minutes. He's at his high school with a big signing day.
He's at the Star in Frisco. They're having a big signing.
Oh, that's right. I mean, Cole is there.
In from all over the country. Cole Patterson is there on behalf of Orangebloods. So, unfortunately, they're not letting media cover it. So Cole's trying to weasel his way in there somehow. He's in the stands, and maybe he can sneak down on the field. I don't know, but yeah, it's at the Star up in Frisco, actually.
We think that's going to be a flip.
Xavier Bryce committing to Texas today has me a little bit gun shy because numbers were so tight. And I'm like, okay, are they going to possibly slow play Xavier if they think they're going to get one of, either Denver Harris or either one of these defensive backs? Terrence Brooks, if you asked me yesterday, I had higher confidence in Terrence Brooks flipping to Texas than Denver. And I still do feel that way. And yesterday evening, I guess, early evening, I probably would have put it about 60-40 Texas over Ohio State. He is still committed to Ohio State. Right now, let me change that. I probably would have gone 65-35 yesterday. Right now, I'm probably 55-45, still in favor of Texas. Talked to a couple people close to Terrence Brooks. Kind of third hand, talked to someone extremely close to Terrence, not Terrence himself, but about as close as you can get. And I've never been given, or the people I've talked to haven't been given clear indication he is 100% flipping, but nobody's denied it. And there's some coaching shuffle going on among that Ohio State defensive staff. Texas has done a good job. Sark and Terry Joseph have been going in home. I was told, hey, Terrence Brooks has a phenomenal relationship with Terry Joseph. Texas can sell stability there. And I was told, kind of like I mentioned with Xavier Bryce, Terrence Brooks really likes the opportunity to come into Texas and compete for playing time right off the bat. And he absolutely would. He's that good of a prospect. So are we expecting flip? I would say, gun to my head. I hate using that expression, but yeah, I am, but it's not with very high confidence. And if they're on schedule, we should know in about 1 or 2 minutes. So I may have to click off here and jump back on in a few minutes to see what we've got. But yeah, it's close. Haven't heard definitively, Ketch, but it's more signs I've heard have been pointing towards Texas yesterday and last night than Ohio State.
Hey, Jason, unless Anwar has any other questions, I'll let you hop off. We'll try to get you back on next hour. Obviously, a lot can happen between now and, let's say, 45 minutes from now. For those of you who are watching the show, Mike Farrell is scheduled to join us in 15 minutes. We'll be talking Quinn Ewers with Mike. He had a column out on Rivals.com yesterday focusing on the relationship between Sark and Quinn Ewers. We'll talk transfer. We'll talk roster management. Real quick, Jason, I wanted you, actually, before you go, if Terrence Brooks pops up, I will let you go. You can just hang up if you want
one
to.
on my other monitor, so
I thought you'd want to hear this. I reached out to the NCAA to seek some clarification on numbers.
Yes.
I asked them a bunch of questions like, how do you, all the things that we've been asking behind the scenes. This is from the NCAA. A school that qualifies for relief under the waiver approved by the Division I Council has the discretion to decide whether the college athletes who replace the transferring students are high school prospects and or transfers.
So they
and
can
yes,
get 33 high school players.
It says, and then she said, and yes, the 25-person scholarship limit is still in play. So
makes my head hurt again.
25 scholarship person is in play, but if you qualify for relief, you can go get high school players.
Okay. So if you have the guys leave, and the day was what, today, right? If guys leave
correct
today, so any guy who transfers out today, they can go above 25. So theoretically, they could go 33 or 30.
Michelle asks, the blanket waiver affords flexibility to schools who reach that annual signing limit and or counter limit and have counter departers who satisfy the blanket waiver conditions. The waiver allows schools to replace up to 7 student athletes who both depart the institution on or after the earlier of December 15th or the end of the school's fall term, which I think for Texas would have already happened, and would have been academically eligible to compete in the school's next academic term. The date the student enters the NCAA portal is not a consideration when a school is determining whether or not a departing student athlete enables the school to use the blanket waiver to replace that student. So it doesn't sound like the 15th date is the end all be all. Like they don't have to be in the portal on the 15th. So I think the big thing to take out of that is that doesn't necessarily matter. It's kind of a weird deadline, but when they actually enter the portal doesn't seem to be a huge deal. In Texas, in terms of scholarship limits, actually has more room than we think because they could go up to 33 high school guys, assuming they qualify. There you go. Anything else? I thought you would find that interesting.
All right. Well, I'm going to hop off. I will see y'all later on a little bit. I'm going to cover this Terrence Brooks thing and try to be prepared for that if it does go Texas's way. So we should have our answer any moment on that one. So
you got it. Anwar Richardson and I hanging in and doing the live show while Jason gets back to work. It looks like Terrence Brooks could be making his announcement as we speak. So Anwar, your thoughts from what Jason said, anything stand out?
No. Everything. Nothing stood out about what he said. No, it was informative. Like everything he said was, just kind of informative. And the most interesting thing, obviously, Ketch, is just the Evan Stewart thing and what's going on with that. And him basically giving himself an out and saying, I'll be surprised don't be surprised if anything as relates to that was probably the most entertaining thing out of anything he said. Cause I'm like, all right, well, let's just see what happens. I heard it echo as well. Also, hopefully it's went away. I turned my mic down. Thank Ani for pointing that out.
A couple of things I'll answer some questions. Someone says, per Jerry Hamilton, there's real smoke with Amario Bohr and Texas. That would be a shock for me, mainly because Amario Bohr and Texas have played footsie from a distance for most of this recruiting cycle. If Texas is able to go in with a Bohr and flip him, that would be a monster. He's a top 10 player in the state for me. I think he's a national top 50 guy. I have him rated higher than most people. He is thought. Most people expect him to sign with Ohio State today. However, the one thing I would say about Amario Bohr is that he's not been nobody has consistent info on a Bohr because he is a little bit like Nato Omazolo in that he doesn't do a lot of interviews. So he's just not one of those guys that's so front and center that everybody has a great feel for. Expectation is Ohio State. We will keep an eye on that if I'm not mistaken. Cole Patterson sending us a message right now saying that, Mike Craven, former Orangebloods staffer who works for Dave Campbell's Texas football right now, tweeting, He's also hearing Abor rumblings for Texas late in the game. Literally, Jason just said that would be a huge shock, kind of echoing what I'm saying, which is that would have happened very recent. Abor hasn't even been on the radar, but nobody's been talking about Amari Abor almost anywhere, because I had gone into today wondering, is he going to stick with Ohio State? Hasn't been a whole lot said or written about him anywhere. Mitchell Gorman asks, anything new on Harold Perkins? The expectations are that Harold Perkins is going to be an Aggie. That might be, I love the guy. I just don't know that one is in play the way people would hope for at this point. Again, Mike Farrell will join us in about 10 minutes. We're keeping our eye on Terrence Brooks. We are just cranking along the discussion all the way up to 11 a.m. this morning, 3 hours of live coverage. This is a lot of stuff, Anwar. It's one thing for us to be doing a 3-hour show. It's another thing for there to be, 4 or 5 state top 10 guys that everybody has their eye on, wondering what's going to happen, and that there's some indecisiveness and non-certainty in all of this. Absolutely tickled. This might end up being the answer to your question at the very top of the show. What was the most memorable National Signing Day? It could be this one. It could be. I mean, we're headed that way. Us doing the show makes this memorable because we've never done this before. We've got 1,628 people watching us as we speak. If all of the stuff that could happen or might happen actually transpires over the course of the next 3 hours, 24 hours, 72 hours, it very well could be the kind of day that we're talking about 20 years from now.
Yeah. By the way, one of the 1,600, I'm giving a shout out to Mike Lyons, one of my good friends who was watching the show, huge Longhorn supporter. So what's up, Mike? It is going to be, you're right, from a closeout perspective, because I'm trying to think, since I've been here, Ketch, Charlie closed out strong in one of those, what we call like avalanche. Was that like the thing that everyone kept talking about? It was like the avalanche, and
yes,
we kept seeing GIFs on avalanche.
I never knew there were so many avalanche GIFs.
Yes, it was like I think it was for the 2015 class. But this is the first where we're getting. You know what the interesting part is for me, Ketch, as we kind of close in on this? I'm used to being here, and as we get to signing day, the guys that Texas is in the running for go somewhere else. That's what I'm used to. I'm used to them winning some battles and winning some key ones, but getting to this point, it's usually bridesmaid status. So the fact that they're actually being able to cross that threshold and close and flip guys and convince guys, and Ketch, we'll get into this at some point, to be able to do what they're doing at this point, coming off a 5-7 record. That's freaking impressive as hell. I mean, that doesn't happen. Like, that just doesn't. 5-7 is usually not the formula for getting national elite guys to come aboard. 5-7 is the formula, typically, Ketch, to get guys to say, we'll wait and see. Go ahead and get good next year, and then we'll wait and see. But it's happening totally opposite this year.
Anwar, real quick, so Texas has 25 total commitments, not including Quinn Ewers. Most of the guys are in. Players not yet signed, sealed, and delivered I'm looking at, based on what I've seen and kind of how we've updated along our Rivals.com team commitment list. Cameron Williams, offensive lineman from Duncanville. He's not yet official. No announcement yet with him. I'm not anticipating anything crazy there, but we're waiting on Cameron Williams' national letter of intent to come in. Malik Murphy, we're waiting on. And kind of a surprise there. Like maybe not. Like, Jason reported yesterday that Malik is going to, sign today. Usually the quarterbacks are among the first. I know he's in California, so technically it's 6:55 in the morning there. So it might be as simple as Malik's just getting out of bed. But that's one we're going to watch mainly because of the Quinn Ewers situation, and it just happened so late in the recruiting process. Would that or would that not impact us? We've got our eye and the other names real quick. Ronald Lewis, not expected to sign today. He told Orangebloods yesterday that Texas has essentially told them that there's a scholarship crunch and they want to wait till February to kind of see how the math works out. We have not seen Will Stone, the kicker. He's not officially announced. And Anthony Jones, the athlete out of Hendersonville, Nevada, mentioning late last night, that he's likely going to sign today for, a variety of reasons, the least of which might not be the fact that they went out and got the kid, Ethan Burke, to flip from Michigan to Texas today. A lot of stuff going on. We're ready to
get Devin Campbell, too.
What's that?
Devin Campbell as well, Catch.
Well, Devin Campbell's not made a decision yet. So technically, I did see someone that mentions that Stone has announced. So maybe I missed that. We'll get back to the recruiting side of things in a second. We got to talk Quinn Ewers. Like, we have to just dedicate an entire section of today's proceedings to the fact that Quinn Ewers is even if he's not technically in the commitment class because he was at Ohio State last season and reclassified as 2021, he's a big part of what this is going to be about. Terrence Brooks on stage, by the way, so we'll update you on anything that happens there. Joining us right now, he's the godfather of recruiting. He's the godfather of Rivals.com. His name is Mike Farrell. We're going to be talking Quinn Ewers, roster management, the transfer game, all of the things that go with National Signing Day today that didn't necessarily go with National Signing Day a couple of years ago. Mike, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. This is different. This is the first signing day in like 25 years where I'm not like just chasing or involved. It's kind of fun, like I get to watch everybody else sort of scramble and try to find out stuff. And I'm not sitting back. We got the portal. We got a lot of impact there, but it's kind of fun.
Let's talk about Quinn Ewers. Wow. It's a weird how we get to – it shouldn't shock anybody if I said 12 months ago Quinn Ewers would eventually end up as a Longhorn. The fact that he reclassified, he went to Ohio State for a semester, he left really before ever getting settled at Ohio State. Talk to us about I know you wrote about him yesterday, so I'm kind of putting it on a tee. I guess I'll just say Quinn Ewers, go.
All right. Well, Quinn Ewers accelerated because the NIL rules in Texas were just not favorable for a kid of that stature. He accelerated and went to Ohio State, signed a bunch of deals, right? Endorsement deals, agencies, autograph, collectible deals, tons of money, and became homesick immediately, pretty much within the first month. And there were rumors around October, November that he was not happy and he was going to transfer back home. Those kind of stopped, and it was sort of a business decision because a lot of those deals that he signed were going to be, sort of dried up because it was Quinn Ewers as an Ohio State Buckeye. If he's not a Buckeye, then he doesn't count, and they can get out of those deals. So that settled, and then it came back real quick, and he decided to transfer. And then we knew it was going to be Texas. I mean, Texas Tech was in there. Texas A&M was mentioned. Texas Tech, I believe, talked about hiring his high school coach as the quarterback's coach and all that stuff. But it was going to be Texas. And now he's going to recoup probably twice as much money being a home state kid that he would have at Ohio State. But to me, the acceleration and the decision, remember, he was committed to Tom Herman, to leave the state was a little bit rough. And now he's going to settle in. He'll be a home state star. He'll make a ton of money. But he's also going to determine Sark's fate, period. That's it. He's the one. Nobody else. And that's the way we are in college football today, where one recruit is going to make or break a guy as a head coach. That's
Hey, real quick, breaking news. I wouldn't jump in and break away from the Quinn Ewers discussion if it wasn't a national top 50 player that we had news on. Terrence Brooks from Little Elm, Texas. A lot of discussion about it leading up to National Signing Day. He literally is sitting on a stage right now and has flipped from Ohio State to Texas. A 6.0 rating with Rivals.com, a top 10 prospect in the state per Rivals.com, ranked number 48 nationally. Huge news just occurred, breaking here while we're doing our National Signing Day show. Okay, just needed to get that out there. Kind of a big deal. Anwar, I'll let you.
Do you think you
go ahead.
had anything to do with that?
I think the transfer of Watts. We'll talk about him in just a second from a transfer side of things. I think they got their hooks into Watts, and it seemingly shook up the whole Little Elm ecosystem. And, there are no accidents in life. I would expect Ryan Watts to be a transfer to Texas, even if it's not announced yet. You can put.
So good, by the way. He's so good. His potential is first round potential.
Really?
Yeah, he really is. Because I talked to a lot of the defensive backs and wide receivers on that Ohio State team, heading into the season, because I'm doing college football now. And that's the guy they talked about over and over again with the highest upside. It wasn't Seven Banks. It wasn't anybody else. It was Watts. So they're going to benefit from the Quinn Ewers transfer. I think you just saw a little bit of it. And it's going to continue. I mean, Ewers are going to, this was all planned. Let's have this done before signing day. Let's lock in a few kids. Let's get a few transfers. That's the talent that he's going to start to help bring to Texas. And it's going to be important.
Hey, Mike, if, obviously Quinn didn't play, his senior year, but if he had been in this class the way we had expected, where he have been with the rankings of Klubnik and Weigman and then Malik Murphy, for your perspective, where would you have had him ranked?
Number one. We had to reclassify him for the 2021, and he was number one. And he would have been number one here. I mean, his arm strength is rare. He is, I'm telling you who he is. He's Matthew Stafford. That's who he is. When it comes to arm strength, arm talent, arm ability, all that stuff, he has that rare combination of arm talent, size, moxie, confidence that Matthew Stafford had. Matthew Stafford obviously went on to be a number one pick. He had a solid career at Georgia, didn't lead him to the national championship, but he was the number one pick, great pro, going to be a Hall of Famer. And that's what Quinn Ewers to me is. So it wouldn't matter. We don't have a quarterback at number one in this year's class. It's Travis Hunter. And there was a lot of debate for that. No, I mean, Ewers would be number one.
Mike, from your perspective, the transfer portal, it's weird. I see a lot of transfer portal as killing recruiting. It's weird when I hear people say that. I don't completely sense that. It's not my perspective, but it's something that gets says. So if I say the transfer portal impacts National Signing Day, how? In your mind, the answer to that question is what?
Roster management. You have to hold back scholarships now. Not this year, because of the move to 32, but moving forward, you have to be very careful with your scholarships. You have to decide, do I want to take this kid who may be D or E or F on our list, not an ABC guy, or do I want to hold that scholarship for somebody who might pop in the portal? There's tampering going on. It's just life. I mean, you have to feel a kid out before he enters the portal. It's just the way it is. There's no way in my mind that Quinn Ewers decided to leave Ohio State without sort of kicking the tires on some other programs. And that's okay to me. But roster management. Now, the portal to me, as an old, crotchety, cranky guy, I'm getting used to it, but I don't really love it. You know, I don't like guys quitting 2 months into their career because they aren't starters. Homesick is one thing, but I also think it's an opportunity for parity to occur in college football, because you're starting to see teams that can get guys that aren't happy at Ohio State, at Alabama, at other places, that will want to come to your program, and it could change your roster immediately. And we see that with, you know, I don't want to use Alabama as a great example, but their starting middle linebacker and their best receiver were transfer portal guys. Ohio State, with Justin Fields and Trey Sermon, you know, went to the national title game. Those are transfer guys. It can impact your roster immediately. And you have to wonder, do I want a 4-year guy or a 2-year guy, or sometimes even a 1-year guy that could make things happen for me right away? And that's what makes it intriguing and interesting to me.
Mike, I'm just kind of curious, you know, for them to land a guy like Quinn, you know, obviously is clearly impressive. How often, though, have you seen a team that finishes 5-7, doesn't advance to a bowl game, be able to recruit at a high level and be able to pull in a top 5 class? It seems to me, and I don't know if you would say, you know, credit Sarkisian, NIL, a combination of all of them, but this doesn't seem to be the norm. This is a little bit of an anomaly, isn't it?
It is, but it isn't. So brand names recruit. So I'll give you the Florida State example. When Bobby Bowden was on his way out of Florida State, and that team was horrible, and he kept hiring older and older coaches that just didn't have it anymore, they still recruited top 10 classes. You know, and then it was handed over to Jimbo, and Jimbo did a good job with it, won a national championship, and then he abandoned it, and now it's a mess, right? And it's a mess because it was abandoned. But if time and effort is put into recruiting, and you have those connections at Texas, you're going to recruit a top 10 class. I don't care if you're Tom Herman. I mean, Charlie Strong had top 10 classes. They weren't great because they weren't Texas classes. To me, they weren't locals. But I think what has to happen this season is Ewers has to start. They have to have some success. They have to obviously win 7 or 8 games. And then you'll see it continue. But it will falter if the on-field results aren't there. But I want to, you're setting me up for the right answer, which is it's amazing. It's not. I'm sorry, Sark. And he'll probably text me and yell at me. But it's not, because it's such a great brand name. And I don't really expect kids to turn their back on Texas simply because of a 5-7 season.
Last question, and I'll let
Orangebloods.
What?
Last question. What's that?
I said, this is why Mike is so loved on Orangebloods.
Well, listen,
It's just like that.
I would never in my entire life, for 25 years, not given my opinion. Period. I've never told anybody what they want to hear, ever. And that's why everybody hates me. Everybody hates me. Because I'm not gonna shoot sunshine up your butt and play rainbows and gummy bears. You know, like this isn't amazing that they got Quinn Ewers. Do you know how much money Quinn Ewers is gonna make in NIL at Texas? Do you have any idea?
Yes, a lot. Millions.
I mean, listen,
maybe 10 million.
He doesn't care about Austin or the city or the academics or anything like that. He wants to, you know, get his hair cut for $1 million at a local barbershop because he's Quinn Ewers of Texas. I mean, he's going to make, I heard $4 million. I heard $4 million in deals already. So to me, it's a different game now. You know, it's like, without that, would he choose Texas? I don't know. We'll see, but it's a different game.
Hey, Mike, last question, then we'll let you go. I know that, you know, it's National Signing Day.
Someone just called me jealous old man. I am jealous. Of course I'm jealous.
Quinn Ewers, you mentioned, and you wrote in your column yesterday, I would advise everybody go to the front page of rivals.com, click on Mike's article. It was something, what you said earlier, and something I've said too, like these two guys are married together. If Quinn Ewers doesn't work out, for Steve Sarkisian. On the other hand, he's a guy that from a talent-wise standpoint, you've just compared to Matt Stafford. So I guess the question I wanted to ask, from your perspective, in 2 years from now, Quinn Ewers will be what? Is this kid definitely going to hit, at which point he's a first-round pick in a couple of years?
Yes. Whether he's average, because Matthew Stafford was, I'd say, average to above average at Georgia. But the arm talent and the ability, I mean, listen, Spencer Rattler is rehabbing at South Carolina. He's got first-round ability. He could be a first-rounder still. He failed at Oklahoma. There's off-field stuff. He's not likable, apparently. But he could be a first-rounder. Matthew Stafford and Quinn Ewers both have rare arms where they're going to be first-rounders. Whether he goes 7-5 every year at Texas, he's going to be a first-rounder. Probably the number one pick in the draft just based on that arm. That arm is amazing. So, but they are married. And I mentioned Garrett Gilbert, right? Because we know Garrett Gilbert, how great he was supposed to be. And he wasn't. But Mac Brown had job security, national championship, and he kind of lucked into Cole McCoy. Sark doesn't have any of that. So Quinn has to win him 10 games in a Big 12 championship before they head into the SEC, or Sark's going to be gone.
Mike Farrell, Rivals.com, The Godfather. Get out of here. Go do all of the things, all your responsibilities. We do appreciate it, man. 15 minutes with The Godfather to be able to talk the most important prospect that Texas has coming into the program. Big deal for us. Really
Thank
appreciate
you very
it.
much. And all the hatred on the right-hand side here is what I expect. Should I jump on your board today?
Yes. Always.
You don't have to moderate that, man. You're busy.
Jump in and do that. Drop a Ryan Watts line like you did in this, and people will hate you a little less. Mike Farrell, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of fun to be able to talk to Mike here on the show. Anwar, as we jump back into
hold on before you go too far. I love how Mike how he embraces being hated. I mean, that takes a lot to just be like, it's almost like you guys have something in common to a certain degree. Like you guys both embrace the hate. It's pretty, but Mike's hate, anytime he posts on Orangebloods, I'm like, oh shit, here it goes. I know what every comment's going to be. And just see it all. I feel bad for him, but he's getting roasted over here. But you know what, Mike? Hey, sometimes it's great that people love you, and then sometimes it's great that people don't like you. Either way, they pay the bills. So good job, Mike. Well,
I thought he had some really interesting stuff and all of that. The least of which wasn't that Ryan Watts, didn't start an A game for Ohio State. Didn't. Because I'm already, with Terrence Brooks flipping while we had Mike Farrell on in that segment, certainly no small thing there to have Terrence Brooks flip. His little nugget about Ryan Watts being a guy that was the guy being talked about, that's pretty big. Because I don't know that when Watts jumped into the portal, I wasn't thinking to myself, surefire starter when he comes in. I looked at what he did at Ohio State and figured, okay, that guy will probably come in and compete for a starting job. And I don't know that I can go so far as say as he will absolutely start. Talking about Watts' talent the way that he did, Watts wasn't at Ohio State for a long time, but seemingly left quite a bit of impact on the minds of those covering the program. It now feels like if that guy comes, when he jumped in, Anwar, the thought was, well, he could impact Terrence Brooks's commitment, and that's what really matters. But it sounds like Terrence Brooks is a huge little add-on, but that Ryan Watts could be a guy, come in and start, evolve into an NFL player. Weirdly, your little Elm connection at Texas could turn into one of the most important matters on the defensive side of the ball in the secondary.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, with guys like that, you always look at their offers, right? So you got the Ohio State offer. So you all right, you got Texas, you got Ohio State certified baller. You look at the film, and again, like you said, certified baller. I love the frame, of him. Again, 6'2", like that long kind of frame. And let's just be honest, Ketch, from a defensive perspective, Texas is a little bit thin in their secondary. They need some guys who you can say, will be able to cover and be able to, hold up. I mean, there's not too many people, Catch, that we look on either both sides of the ball that we would say, like, I'm standing on the table for this guy. Like, I will definitely stand on the table. And then, when you look at the Texas secondary, once we get past, a couple of guys, I don't think there's too many guys we're going to stand on the table for. So he's a guy that, especially at that position, probably has a chance to come in, play right away. And again, we'll have a conversation at some point. Something I'm thinking about writing about, I keep alluding to how many young guys are they going to play. But this is being able to flip that guy, have him stay here. It says a lot. It says that, it's, one thing I want to make sure we put it out there, as much criticism as we gave Pete Kwiatkowski for what's happening on the defensive side of the ball this past season, guys are still committing to play for Pete Kwiatkowski in this defense. So there still is a belief system from elite guys, elite guys, that they can come in, get in this system, and turn it around. So, we get all these questions. We got them a lot, very early. And again, you talk about what if I had $1, if I had $1 for every Evan Stewart question, if we had $1 for every Gary Patterson question, how much money would we have? You're still having guys saying, like, at the end of the day, they want to come in and play for Texas, playing in the system. So, it's a testament to what they're doing from a recruiting perspective behind the scenes. But to your point, that addition that it just picked up, and be able to flip that's a huge, probably one of their bigger gets. I mean, there's a lot of big gets, but getting that guy, I think, is one of the best. And by the way, love his picture of him sitting on a throne on signing day. I gotta say, if there is some swag out there, my man has got swag. You guys go look at Cole Patterson on Twitter. It's Cole L. Patterson. Guys, if you go listening to, just look up Cole L. Patterson and look at the picture of Terrence Brooks on stage sitting on a purple throne. I love it. He's now my new favorite player in the class just because of that.
All right. I don't mean to rain on your parade like Mike Farrell raining on Steve Sarkisian's parade 10 minutes ago. But at this event at the Star in Dallas that Terrence Brooks announced at, all of the players are sitting in the throne. So it's not his throne. It's not like he's Deion'd it. But, hey, Jason Suchomel, I don't know how long we'll have him. If Michael, our producer, can bring in Jason. There he is. Jason, since we last had you on, whole bunch of stuff happened.
I can't even keep up. I might have missed something, man.
Let's start with Terrence Brooks.
Yeah.
Wow. Not unexpected. Literally, we were handicapping that if we were going to say yes or no, would he flip from Texas from Ohio State? We thought yes. This is a national top 50 talent. There's so much going on. It's going to be easy to not freak out over the fact that Texas added a guy like this. But if we step back and a month ago, Terrence Brooks had signed or committed to Texas, it would be stop the presses, 3-inch headlines on the front page, videos and instant analysis. It's a big deal. And let's just stop for a moment and talk about the fact that they just added one of the most important and critical pieces of this recruiting class in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's funny, the timing of it. I mean, like you said, there's so much going on today that it's certainly not going to get lost in the shuffle, but it's probably not going to get the attention it probably deserves. I mean, this is an elite player. I think he's a borderline 5-star prospect. You mentioned I guess he is by Rivals stats, or he's top 50 in the country, but I would have no qualms with anybody who tells me Terrence Brooks is a 5-star player. I mean, he's the size, the length, his range with his arms, his ability to play every position in the defensive backfield. This is a guy back in, I think it was June 30th, I think it was. I looked last night. It was Texas. It was Alabama. It was Texas A&M. It was Ohio State. Obviously winds up committing to Ohio State. His dad played at Texas A&M, Chet Brooks. His dad coined the phrase wrecking crew. A&M tried to get in this thing late. I mean, so for Texas to get Terrence Brooks is a huge flip. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we're used to seeing Ohio State come in and take these guys from Texas. For Texas to come in at the last minute and take something like this, a player like this from Ohio State, is phenomenal. Hey, maybe it's a turn of the tide. It's one player, I don't know, but maybe it's a turn of the tide a little bit. And it's funny, Ketch, I wrote in my commitment story, I wrote it last night. I didn't know for sure he was coming, but we talked about it earlier. I had a little bit of an idea he might be coming. I said last summer, June, I think it was 30th, when Terrence Brooks commits to Ohio State. And then within a few days, you had you had Cam Williams commit to Oregon, and you had Kelvin Banks commit to Oregon. And everybody was like, that was July 4th when Kelvin Banks commits to Oregon. It was like, oh, hell, the wheels are falling off for Texas recruiting. It's awful. Fire Sark. And now on signing day, they've got all three of those guys back in the fold, signed, sealed, and delivered, along with some other big-time players. So this wave of momentum Texas has picked up in the last, what's it been, starting Sunday, I guess, when Quinn Ewers committed, and I think Kelvin Banks is on Saturday. So
Yeah.
What are we talking, 4 days? I mean, my head's spinning. I've been doing this a long time. You and I have been doing this a really long time. I've never seen anything like this, certainly not for Texas. I feel like we're kind of playing in the pool that Alabama normally plays in the Georgias of the world, but it's been pretty exciting.
Florida State under Bobby Bowden back in the day. It felt like they did everything on signing day.
It's crazy. Charlie Strong did some of that to some degree, but nothing like this where things are just flipping so dramatically at the last minute. It's been a wild ride, and I don't think we're done yet, man. I mean, signing day, this signing window goes till Friday, so we'll be tracking other stories today and probably the next couple days.
Amario Bohr, real quick, Jason, you posted a note on, sorry to interrupt you there, Anwar.
Okay,
you mentioned he's in play all of a sudden. The Longhorns really haven't done more. He's a little bit like NATO in that you never see tons of interviews with Amario Bohr, but he's also
a great interview too. It's frustrating because a couple times I've talked to him, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy should be on camera, much less doing phone interviews. But
just update us on you spoke to his father.
Texted with his dad. Yeah, it hit our board that Texas is back in play. And I'll be honest, that one's been off my radar. Amari did visit Texas over the summer for a quick unofficial visit. I think it was the pool party or heat wave party, whatever it was. But he never came back for an official visit. He did really like that one-day visit. I remember talking to him. I was down on campus. I talked to him, talked to his dad, Randy, who's an awesome dude. And they were like, yeah, man, Texas really opened our eyes. Texas wasn't on the radar before that visit. Everybody got kind of excited, but then, the shine of that visit kind of wore off. And Texas hasn't really been mentioned. He never came back for an official visit. Ohio State seemed to be the play there for Amari, big defensive lineman out of Duncanville. I did text his dad, and I said, hey, man, is Texas still in play here? And he goes, yes, definitely. I said, do you have a date in mind, or does Amari have a date in mind for when he wants to announce? And he said it will be, after some back and forth, it'll be at the Under Armour All-American game on January 2nd down in Orlando. I've got to do some more digging on this one. This one's so fresh. I'm still trying to process it. Texas has been so far disconnected from that one, I would say, that I don't want to oversell it. If it's someone said he's not signing with Ohio State, I don't think he's going to sign with anybody today. I mean, could it be a deal where he signs quietly today and announces on January 2nd? That's possible. Those types of things happen. Man, the way this cycle is going, I'm not going to outlaw anything. I'm not going to say, that it's impossible for anything to happen, but I don't yet have a great feel for Amari, but I do know Texas is under strong consideration. That's directly from Omari's father as of 15-ish minutes ago. Yeah.
So Jason, I got something for you. By the way, Ben Hernandez, I know you keep posting this. I am awake. I actually took an energy drink beforehand. I just keep looking down at my phone, or I write notes and stuff. So I don't forget stuff. But I am awake. You see me looking down. I'm focused on other stuff. Jason, make it plain for us. Who are the other guys that? And I know you may have said it, but I feel like there's so much going on at this moment. Just freaking refresh my memory. Who are the guys that Texas is in play for today that you expect to make a decision today that there's an opportunity to potentially get?
Today, we're kind of winding down as I pull up my list here. Shaz Preston is a wide receiver out of Louisiana, 145. He's supposed to announce. I don't think it's going to be Texas. Alabama seems to be the choice there, but Texas has been working him. And again, Anwar, I hate to stick my neck out too far with anybody the way this cycle's gone, man. But Shaz Preston, Savion Red is I call him an athlete, is a running back, wide receiver. He's scheduled to announce at 2 p.m. We'll be at his announcement. It's Texas or SMU. I was able to text with Savion last night, and he was at one time committed to SMU. He opened it up when Sonny Dykes left. TCU tried to get in there. He said, wasn't feeling it. So it's going to be Texas or SMU. I feel really good about Texas. Cole Patterson will be at that announcement at 2 p.m. Malik Agbo. I'm glad you asked this question, honestly, because I had to pull up my list to refresh my own memory. Malik Agbo is the offensive lineman out of the Seattle, Washington area. He's going to announce at 4 p.m. It'll be broadcast online on CBS Sports. I think Texas looks good there, man. I mean, every sign seems to point for Texas. He's down to 4. It was Oklahoma, Auburn. Auburn's kind of pulled back. Miami, they had the coaching search there, coaching shakeup there, but Mario Cristobal is obviously a great recruiter, so don't discount those schools. But I think Texas looks good for Malik Agbo at 4 p.m. And then Armani Winfield's at 4 p.m. also. Cole Patterson will be there. There's some buzz coming in with it was Michigan State for a long time. Okay. Armani Winfield was committed to Texas. He decommitted in the fourth quarter of the K-State game, which ruffled some feathers with Texas fans, but everybody thought he was going to Michigan State. I was told last night, no, he's not even communicating with Michigan State anymore. It's going to be Baylor or Texas. Baylor hasn't been supremely confident. He did visit there last week, but Armani's a guy, man, he gets caught up in kind of the moment sometimes. If you remember, he's the guy who committed to Texas at halftime of the national championship game a year ago because he loved what he was seeing from Sark's offense when Sark was at Alabama. So Armani gets caught up in I won't say he gets caught up in the moment, but he gets caught up in waves. He
gets caught up in the moment. It's okay.
It's okay to say that.
When did he decommit, Jason?
Yeah. Well, hey, they won that game against Kansas State. So he decommitted during a win. He rode out the 6-game losing streak, decommits during a win. But he's going to announce at 4 o'clock, and Cole Patterson or other guy, he'll be there as well. So Cole's going to hit a couple of these. I'll just say we've got some commitment stories written and ready on a lot of these guys. Are we going to use all of them? Well, probably. I think the ones we have written, we might use all of them now that I look at my list. But, yeah, that's kind of a rundown of what we're looking at for the next oh, my goodness. We still have, 7 hours of this? So.
Right. And Steve Sarkisian will do his press conference at 3:30.
Which will be weird because he'll be talking when a couple of these guys probably are going to be announcing. So, Anwar, I'll let you handle the PC, and I'll be doing whatever I can back, from home base. But, yeah, that's right, Ketch. 3:30 for Sark. Potentially a couple commitments coming in at 4 o'clock for Texas.
All right, Jason, get out of here. We've got some more guests to bring on, and you've got more work to do. And hopefully we can talk to you one more time in the 10 o'clock hour, pending updates and chaos and all that stuff. Jason Suchomel, Orangebloods.com. It is the Orangebloods National Signing Day show. Joining us right now, a couple of Texas players, and to give us some perspective. Look who's in the house, Anwar.
Oh, snap. It's big time. It's prime time. Golly. I didn't know this.
Yes. Snacks. And who is that? It's been a while since I've talked to him. It seems so long ago. Demo is in the house, fellas.
Demo show.
That's right. It's National Signing Day. What's y'all's perspective? You guys have done this. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you guys on was, is this a big deal for you guys? Like when you get into the program, do players pay attention to all of this stuff, or is it like in the NFL when veterans look at rookies and they kind of roll their eyes because nobody really knows what it's like until you show up and do it, and all these high school kids have a thing to learn? Like, what's y'all's perspective of what we're watching today?
I think early stage of being in college, I was kind of like, I just want to see who come join the team and see who got to go through hell like we did, like got to go through the hard working out and going to school and college. But I think now I'm kind of excited. I'm happy to see who's coming along to join the Longhorn family and see who can help us on the field immediately right now, like how Xavier did for us this season. So I'm just excited to see who comes along.
I'm kind of the same way, though. I remember when I was in this position signing earlier, I actually had some memories pop up today. And, you know, it's exciting. I mean, I'm more excited for them than for myself. But, you know, being a senior, watching them guys, you know, come in, I know how I felt coming in, and I know who those strong leaders were for me. And that so I'm just looking to be that type of guy for them, you know, excited to get them on campus, you know, ready to see them work.
Guys, I'm kind of curious. You know, you guys obviously have to be on the front lines as far as recruiting a lot of these players. What was some of your pitch to some of the guys? And I'm kind of curious, what were some of the questions, the most common questions that they had for you guys that you guys felt that you had to answer?
I mean, we had got I started got questions about how it is, how the staff is, and I had to give them honest tell. I mean, I barely know the staff at that time when they was asking me questions while being recruited. And I just tell them right now, I mean, I'm in love with it. I believe into the system. I'm down for Sarkisian. So, I mean, all I can do is tell you right now how I feel. I can't tell you the future. I mean, now I can tell them the future and how the season goes, how all season, how spring goes, how summer goes with this. So I think it can help more now that I can communicate and tell them the actual facts and real reasons to why to come to Texas. So them type of questions, just me. They was probably asking like how is it? How Austin? How's the team? How stuff like that. So that's the type of answer, the questions I can answer.
And then you know, other than the question part, it was really how do y'all deal with like going to Texas? Because you know the brand is huge, and you know it's always an eye on watching you, whether you know it or not. So that was one of my biggest questions. And I was like, you know, when you sign to play for Texas, you signed to be a pro athlete. You know, being in Austin, playing for the Texas Longhorns, you're going to be noticed player, or if you ride the bench, you're going to be noticed. So, you know, that being a good thing and also being a bad thing at some times. But that's one of the things was my pitch. Like, you come to Texas, it's going to be on you. The spotlight is always on you. And, you know, type of guys come here for that. You know, they want to do big things at a big school.
Guys, it was such a weird season in where we started, where it went, and here we are in December, and it feels like there's a lot of momentum, excitement, just positive thinkings as guys in the locker room. And this is, you know, recruiting is there's a bit of a separation from what takes place in the team and what takes place in recruiting. They kind of live on separate islands. But do you guys feel it? I mean, given the season that y'all just went through, you're not going to a bowl game this year, and yet it feels like a real injection of momentum has entered the program in the last couple of weeks. Do you guys sense that inside?
Yeah, I can answer that. I mean, it has been tough. I mean, we're not going to a bowl this season. First time my career in college, not going to one. And for some reason, I just feel like everything's going well for UT. I mean, it's like every week or every other day, some type of special announcement, something's going good for us. And I think that's just I just think that's something that I feel like we deserve because, I mean, it was a tough season. But at the same time, I mean, we worked hard. I feel like we worked hard, but it just didn't go the way we wanted to go. So we can just take this little time that we have and actually go see your family, do things you've probably never done before, and and just know when it's time to get back to work, it's time to work. And we got a path right now that's taking us in a way that if we just keep working, keep believing, that it could take us somewhere that we really want to go and somewhere special. Yeah.
I just look at it as a blessing in disguise. Of course, we didn't have a season that we wanted, but with everything going on, all the good news we getting, all the energy that this 22 effect class is bringing in, I feel like it's a step in the right direction.
I'm kind of curious. I mean, you guys are older vets. You got more things to do in life. Do you watch any of the film of any of the prospects? Does any of this cross your path or your desk or anything like that? Or you guys just like, all right, when they're here on Fridays or for a visit, I'll watch. I'm just kind of curious. Are you fans are watching Huddle? Do you guys watch them, or is that just that's for everybody else?
I seen, the highlights that they've posted. I've never just sat and watched their whole games because I knew when I came in, walking in the locker room, a lot of people like, oh yeah, we saw your highlights. We know you like to hit. So, I want to be able to do the same thing. I know how that made me felt when I came in the locker room, knowing like the older guys, they've actually seen me play. I'm just not another number and name coming in the building.
Again, some of the players like the D tackle from North Shore. I mean, I knew him, kind of knew of him, and so I already knew who he was, so I didn't have to really watch his film. I mean, but whoever Texas posts or whoever Texas wanted to like or recruit or retweet, or I'll click on it and watch it. I'm not gonna lie, I'll watch it. I'll be like, oh, okay, he nice. Oh, he real good. So there's a couple of players I've seen, but that's just how I watch it, or how I do it.
Ketchum, it does seem like they're, as of right now, Ketchum, are they at 6 defensive linemen or 7 defensive linemen? I believe that
7 if everything holds.
I mean, for a guy like you, to know you've got that much reinforcement coming in and that many guys behind you, what does that mean for you as far as having that depth in the room?
I mean, it means a lot. I mean, when I came my freshman year, we had a lot of D tackles. We had a lot of D tackles, a lot of DNs, to where in practice, every person was able to get reps. Every person was able to get the reps and get the certain stamina that you need for each rep and not just killing yourself. And you got into the game and you had a certain amount, and you had a certain amount on scout team, which I was on scout team my freshman year, and nothing to that. But I think now, I mean, throughout the years, we have lost D tackles to the transfer portal that left or went to the league. And this year was kind of like short. It was like a shorthand. Like if somebody went down, then you literally had to play somebody the whole game, and with nobody with no depth. And so now having all these D tackles, it helps me a lot because in spring ball, this previous spring ball we just had, it was literally only 2 of us. Sweat was down. It was really me and Sawyer. So I'm taking all the load the whole spring ball, and to where now this could help me out to where I could get some chance to get a break, get some type of stamina back, and see other D tackles make plays and showcase their skills.
Guys, I got to ask you about Quinn Ewers. It was, I'm watching Xavier Worthy change his avatar on Twitter to the blonde mullet man. And, when Ewers is a different prospect in that when he did something, it's on the front page of ESPN.com. And it's such a big national story. I would imagine he being a quarterback, him being such a big name, I'm guessing that's a guy, and it's obviously there were members of the team who were quite active in trying to pursue that, whether it was like joining him on Instagram Live or being on the visit this weekend. From y'all's perspective, buzz in the locker room, I'm guessing a quarterback like that joining the program when Sarkisian has said we want to bring in a quarterback to add to the competition to try to get the best out of that position we can get. You guys noticed that one, right?
Yes, sir, we did. And, Quinn is a hell of a player, and I have seen some of his film. But like Coach said, competition in the quarterback room is always a good thing for the team. And especially when you got a guy like that, it umps up the recruiting. Now guys want to play with him because they know how good he is. So not only is that good for us, but that's also good for the recruiting side of the football as well.
I mean, it's good for us because it helps that side of the ball. I guess get better with him, his skill sets. I did watch his show before. I actually see him when he first committed to us. I was happy. Then when he did commit, I was like, forget him. and now he's back. So now I gotta take it back. Yeah, but it's funny because I was always retweeting little stuff like that. But I let it be. I'm glad to have him. I would like to get to meet him, actually get to know him because he's a Longhorn now. But I'm just excited for the team, excited for the future, and like Demo said, Sarkisian said, a QB room with a bunch of talent competition, it wouldn't hurt, So, yeah.
Anwar, I've got one more question. Anything you want to sneak in?
Just the last one though, just for Keondre. Are you familiar with Kelvin Banks? It seems like you coached everybody in the Houston area, or everyone has to go through you. It seems like you're the godfather over there. Any familiarity with him?
Yeah, I mean, I know of him, and I'm trying to, because I coach so many, played with so many kids that I'm trying to remember. And I think I don't know if I coached him or probably was really right next to him in the stints, because one of my barbers in Houston, he hit me up, about that's one of my boys, and that was a coach for me since I was in Little League. So it's kind of like everybody around the area just know each other. And Summer Creek is right near the area that I play Little League at. So yeah, I probably came across him. I just probably don't remember.
Okay. All right, guys, my last question for you, and I'll let you get back to it. NIL money. One of the things that gets popped up with the conversation of NIL money is that, oh, well, what's going to happen when a linebacker or a defensive tackle who's not got the same level of NIL money coming in as, let's say, Keondre or Demo, like, are they going to be okay? Is there going to be sulking? Or players going to be looking at each other with the side eyes, wanting what they've got? I'm just curious. This is y'all's first 6 months of NIL just existing. Were there any issues at all that you could sense throughout the year with guys looking at Bijan and wondering like, oh man, that's not fair. That dude's making money and I'm over here not? Or Quinn Ewers comes in and like, that dude's literally going to be making millions in NIL money. Now that you've lived it a little bit, has that been an issue at all? Have you sensed any issues at all in the locker room just with how all of the guys react to all of this?
I think first off, you can't really worry about other people. I feel like whatever anybody else is getting is an honor, and that's you deserve that. But I mean, some stuff is crazy. Like a quarterback about to come and make millions in college. Like, and to me, why would I leave college if I'm making millions in college? Like, to be honest, I'm gonna be truthful with you. And NIL gave college athletes another opportunity to use their name and their likeness to make money. I mean, some don't, some do. It's just like in the league. Some get big contracts, some don't. And I had to accept whatever I had got. I'm blessed, I'm honored. And then I mean, little joke shit here, like somebody be like, "Oh, you got NIL money? Oh, you got it, you got this," or like say you're going out with your homies, "You should pay for me." Like, you got NIL money. And we hear little jokes like that, but I mean, I feel like it's funny, but I think in the future and how big this probably can go and get, I think it's gonna probably be certain stuff that's people gonna hate, people gonna feel a certain way, lead them out there. But I feel like whoever gets something, I feel like you deserve it. I mean, is it crazy that you come straight out of high school get it? I mean, I don't know, but at the end of the day, I feel like whatever you get, you deserve. And I'm never hate. I'm proud. I'm happy because I'm happy that everybody's making money in college. And a couple years ago, people wasn't. So I think it's just different. It's something new. I'm happy for everybody who gets something.
I think when this was brought up, people knew that, everybody wasn't going to get the same thing. Like, it's the same way in the NFL. Like, everybody not getting the same endorsement as the quarterbacks or the running backs that's scoring all the touchdowns. So, to be honest, I just wanted to be on the NCAA game. The extra stuff came with it. I just wanted to be on NCAA. But, I haven't sensed any of the hating going on in the locker room or it dividing the locker room at all, besides the little jokes that he said. But, like I said earlier, people knew, like, everybody wasn't going to be getting the same amount, and it works the same way at any level.
Is it fair to say life is better for you guys with NIL? Like, you guys have more money than you would have had before, and I'm guessing it can be problematic, but, like, cell phone bills get paid and rent gets paid. And is it safe to say you guys are happier with it than you were without it?
I can say, yeah. I mean, it's not the change where like I could just go splurge because I'm not the type of person to splurge. I think it's just the stipend check we get at school, I think it help and take care of my bills to where like, okay, I can have a little money. Like, mom, you need something, I got you. Brother, you need something, like I could go to a trip. You know, I could go take a nice trip. I could get cheese on Whataburger. You know, like. They charge
like 75 cents a slice.
They do charge you a lot. They don't need some of that. I can get the meal. Get the combo. Then my brother can get the meal with cheese. So it's like, little stuff like that.
Get a milkshake, a large drink, and a large fry.
You know what I mean? Like Whataburger expensive for no reason.
But like stipend, it was really like, especially staying in Austin, it was like living paycheck to paycheck, basically. Like we do all this work, we go in this early, don't get done to this late. So we don't have the opportunity, go make a little extra cash, to send home. So I'd say that's the biggest thing for me. I've been able to help my mom in ways that I haven't been able to. And, that's a blessing. But, and it's also, nice to have a couple extra dollars to get a slice of cheese on your burger.
For real.
Fellas, go get some extra slices of cheese on your burger today. Snacks, Demo, Keondre Coburn, DeMarvion Overshown, two of our absolute favorites. Thanks for joining us on our first ever National Signing Day show here on the platform. Enjoy your holidays, man. I hope Santa treats you guys well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. That was Keondre Coburn and DeMarvion Overshown.
Hey, Catch. If you want to know how hard it is to be a college student, when they know it costs 75 cents to put extra cheese on the burger, that's when you know, man. Like that's we all been there.
Yep.
And that is that young life where you're like, man, how much does a supersize cost? Shit, man, I don't know.
They are infinitely aware of 75 cents per cheese slice at Whataburger. That's real, man. Like, is your life better? Well, when I go to Whataburger, I get cheese on my burger, whereas before I had to count the pennies. Jordan Whittington is going to join us before I think the next hour, just to like set the table for everybody. The show is going by fast. Sorry, I'm getting a note from our producer. Shout out, hey guys, make sure that you're subscribing to the channel and subscribe to Orangebloods. I pay the bills a little bit. It really does help us. If you subscribe to the channel, over 2,200 watching live right now. I don't think there's been anything crazy that's happened in the last 20 minutes since we took on Snacks and Demo. Jordan Whittington will join us, I think, before the next 30 minutes or so. We've also got and I'm watching the subscriber number literally grow in front of my eyes while I do this. It's like a little turn. Oh, wow. Like 3 at once. Now we're talking. Subscribe, baby. I'll say that all day long if it means you guys are actually going to do it. I want to ask Jordan Whittington about, obviously, Quinn Ewers. Justice Finkley, Texas signee, one of the best guys in this class. He's scheduled to join us before the show is over, as is Connor Robertson, who, oh, by the way, had a teammate today flip to Texas and is playing in a state championship game. We're scheduled to go till 11 a.m. Who knows? Maybe we'll go a little bit further. It's been that kind of a day.
It's been going too fast. It's going too fast. I feel like, I don't know, man. I mean, they keep the party going. All I got to say.
No, it's been a lot of fun. And as Jason Suchomel mentioned, and we'll get Jason on one more time before we wrap things up today. We're over 9,300 subscribers. Keep it coming. We went in today like, hey, can we get to 10,000 today? It seems like the kind of thing that might not happen, but we just grew by 100 subscribers in like the last 60 seconds. So not an impossibility. I will remind all of the 2,000 plus people as we go throughout the day. This was free. We're doing it. So like maybe just give us a subscription to the channel. It does mean a lot for us. Real quick, Armani Winfield, I switched my future cast from Baylor to Texas.
Oh.
I don't think Texas is done. Anwar, as it stands. So if I go to the commitment list, because I've kind of lost track of where we are. Texas is at 26 commitments. From what I've seen, everybody but 5 of the 26 have officially signed. One of those guys is Terrence Brooks. He literally just announced his decision to flip to Texas, so that should be just a mere formality. We're waiting on Malik Murphy. That still hasn't happened. I'm waiting. And to be fair, you and I are doing the show. So if I've missed anything, I'm literally hitting refresh right now to make sure that there's nobody that I've missed. We're also waiting for Anthony Jones, not expected to go down today. Ronald Lewis, not expecting to go down today. So really, of the guys that they're waiting on, Terrence Brooks, Will Stone, Malik Murphy, those are the main ones that we would watch for today. The Longhorns technically at 26, 27 if you include Quinn Ewers, 28 if you include Ryan Watts, the safety from Ohio State, who is expected at this point to transfer to Texas, whether or not he's officially announced that or not. With more guys still to come, Anwar, with potentially Armani Watts joining the fold, with Amario Bohr, a guy that suddenly is going to wait, but the Longhorns appear to be making a move with him, the Duncanville defensive line product, with Devin Campbell still waiting to go. The Longhorns have a chance to take up to 33 incoming players in this class if all of the attrition takes place. They're either at 28 or 26 if you include Ewers and Watts. 26 if you think, I don't know if guys like Anthony Jones and Ronald Lewis, who are now suddenly waiting until the second signing day, whether or not they're still going to be in this class. It feels like the Longhorns are loading up on high school prospects. That's where I'm going with this. That if they were bringing in 33 new players, they're going to have a few transfers, but it's pretty clear Steve Sarkisian doesn't want to build the Michigan State way. They want to build with high school talent, really good high school talent.
Yeah, I mean, the transfer portal is the easy fix, right? I mean, that's the easy fix. Like you said, Michigan State, that's the easy fix. It almost seems like, and I say seems like it really is, Ketch. What's happening is by building through high school players, essentially, it's a project. So I think you got to go into it knowing that Steve Sarkisian and the staff is saying, okay, these are the players that we need to compete for 2 reasons. One, for the future, a year or 2 from now, but 2, also to start getting those guys ready for the SEC whenever that may happen. So I feel like it's a twofold thing that's occurring. But yeah, they're getting guys in here. Of course, Ketch, with the thought process of winning in 2022, let's not get it twisted, but it also is the thought process of saying, okay, I think Steve Sarkisian said last year, Ketch, that when he started talking about the roster, he said it was constructed in a way that he wouldn't necessarily construct it. He said it wasn't bad, but probably that he would do things a little bit differently. And so what we're seeing is, all right, I won't say a tear down, but it's definitely in a rebuild mode. And the best way to do that is having a young influx of talent, getting as many guys as possible. And Ketch, you almost need this many guys, Ketch, in this era of the transfer portal. You've just got to go into it understanding that you've got to stack. You have to stack, because if you don't stack, attrition is going to happen. Attrition will happen in every room. Like it's just how it does. So you almost have got to stack it up in order to say yes. And by the way, yes, Leo, it is. It's going to be a project. Everyone has to be patient. Let's next year. Don't say, all right, this is going to be an 11-1. Don't go crazy. It's probably going to be a project, but him building it the way that he wants to do it. But like back to what I was saying, you have to stack it. And so stack the offensive line, stack them up in the defensive line room, like stack them up as much as possible. So a year or so from now, stack up the quarterback. So a year or so from now, when guys are saying like, I'm not happy because I'm not playing, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. You've got enough that's in there. So I think what they have right now, Ketch, good problems. What they have right now is first world problems. But I still got to say, and look, you guys everyone here who watches this knows I'm very even keeled. I try not to ride any emotional roller coasters, but I try to be as straight shooter as possible. And excuse my French, shit's impressive. Shit's really impressive.
It really is. Real quick, before we bring Jordan Whittington in on the Orange Bloods National Signing Day show, want to say that according to our Slack channel, Suchomel hasn't joined us in like a half hour. He also has put his future cast in for Armani Winfield returning to the Longhorns, which, Anwar, you always ask, do guys ever flip and come back? That would be a guy that flipped in the middle of a Texas game and came back. Anything can happen in recruiting. And Malik Agbo, the offensive lineman from Washington State, who's expected to sign and announce later today, everything still looks good for Texas. So the numbers grow. This class grows. And joining us right now to talk about National Signing Day, Texas football, all of the things that come with it. He's one of our athletes, one of our Orange Bloods athletes. You've watched his show, the Jordan Whittington Show, all season long here on the platform. Jordan Whittington joining us. Jordan, I believe I recognize your background there. So you're at home in Austin. Welcome.
Oh, I'm always home, man. But yeah, I didn't really go home. But I didn't go like on a trip or anything. I might go somewhere in January. But
as a guy inside the building, we just had Keondre Coburn and DeMarvion Overshone on, and one of the first things we asked them was like, look, as a veteran, as a guy that, look, you were a big-time hyped recruit, the process, you've been to the circus and seen all the shows. Now that you're at this level, how much do you pay attention to it? I mean, we're having you on the Signing Day show. Is it a big deal, you think, for the guys in the locker room? Like, how do you break it down?
I would say, yeah, definitely. Just because all the trends that are going with it. Like I see Sark after dark all the time, so I'm always, I'm watching everything that's going on and just seeing the guys we've been getting. It's been blowing up. I've been having my phone go off and it'd be ESPN or Sports Center about the quarterback that we just got. So we're all paying attention. We have a group chat. We all hit each other up like, hey, you think we can get this guy? We got a lot of players that are recruiting. I don't know if they rank players as recruits, but we got some good ones. Bijan's been putting in a lot of work, and it's exciting, having young guys come in and just knowing, being in their shoes at one point in time. It's an amazing feeling knowing that you're getting some people that you need on the team.
I'm kind of curious, Jordan, when you guys start doing your pitch, to some of these players, what was kind of the thing that was the selling point? Well, I'm curious, what were some of the questions some of the young guys were asking you? And what were you telling them, like, why it made sense for them to come to Texas?
I would say to be a part of something that's building and being special. That was on Sark's first year, so you get to be a part of the prime part of it and the building and the process. Also, my main thing I preach to people is the connections, the networking you meet here. It's really, I didn't believe it that much when I was coming to UT, but when you get here, you really see it. Like, UT is a big brand. Like, they just put that picture of schools like most valuable, and when you get here, you really see why. You meet so many people, and just the connections are unbelievable. So that's the main thing I preach to recruits. But other than that, come be a part of. It's like the Dallas Cowboys of college football. Like, this is America's team. So, and everybody, you're gonna get everybody's best when they play you. So it's great. And you're moving to the SEC. I don't know when that'll be, but it's a lot of good things that come into coming to this school.
Jordan, I have to ask you about the quarterback edition. It was a big deal over the weekend. Quinn Ewers in town. He officially signs his paperwork, so he's an official transfer in the program. It was funny, I think, watching Xavier Worthy change his avatar on Twitter to Quinn Ewers with the mullet. And, clearly you guys want to win. You guys want best player on the field at all positions, whatever helps you guys win games. Quinn Ewers enters the program. I guess, is the highest rated recruit in the program. I mean, the expectations for him coming from Ohio State will be huge. I had Mike Farrell on from Rivals.com earlier. He's basically a Matt Stafford clone, was the thing that Mike said. As a receiver and a guy that's getting ready to catch passes from him, Casey, Hudson, your perspective on the arrival of Quinn Ewers and like what it does to boost the competition at the quarterback position going into next year.
I'm really excited just as a receiver. I haven't really gotten to see him play a lot of college football, but I know I've watched his high school stuff, so I know he knows what he's doing. He's really talented. And I mean, just like the last time, they're all going to have to battle it out. And whoever wins it, congrats to them. But I know it'll be a good battle, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's funny you said it, when you guys are selling it to like recruits and stuff. How do you make sure like a teammate doesn't get offended? You know what I'm saying? Like how do you make sure Casey Thompson is not feeling some type of way about seeing mullet avatars? I'm like, hey, what about me? Like I'm still your guy. I'm still your boy. Like how do you make sure like Casey's just recruiting, man? We still love you.
Yeah, that is. I don't know, because that's a hard question to answer. I mean, it would be the same. Like for me, if I was in the shoes and we're doing the same thing with a receiver, I don't think it would really bother me, just because I'm a team player. So I know Casey's a team player, so he wants us to have, a lot of good recruits, a lot of great players. So I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. I would just.
There's only one quarterback, Jordan. There's a couple of receivers that get on the field.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See, I gotta put that into perspective.
Yeah. So your position.
I mean, of course, as a football player, as a competitor, you're gonna feel some type of way, I'm sure, if you are a competitor. But at the same time, we have team players on this team, so I know they're excited to have them, and I would want to battle, I would want to have three great quarterbacks and battle it out.
Hey, Jordan, while we've got you, I see that a really important member of this signing class for the Longhorns is waiting in queue. I want to go ahead and bring him in. I don't know how much time he'll have with us. Justice Finkley from Alabama signing with the Longhorns today. Justice, first of all, welcome to the show. I wanted to basically let Jordan welcome you to the team. You guys are teammates now.
Yes, hey, how you doing?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Jordan, any advice that you can give Justice? Like now he's officially a college football player that signed as someone who, Justice back in the day, I'm going to talk about Jordan like he's an old man. He also an incredibly high-level recruit. Jordan, any advice now that he's in and he can't change his mind? What would you tell him?
I would say first thing is come in, be disciplined, be patient. That's one thing that a lot of people have a problem with. Just be patient, just be disciplined, just have fun. It's the same game that you've been playing. The tempo, the intensity is up a little bit higher. But other than that, man, it's great. It's a great way to get your football IQ up if you're when you first get here off season, just listening, working out and everything, and just build love and trust for the teammates during the off season.
Justice, any questions for Jordan Whittington while we have him on?
Hey, no, I'm just ready to get on campus and put in work.
Yeah.
So, Justice, describe the day for us. I mean, they always say this will be a day that you remember for the rest of your life. It's the culmination of a dream, right? You grow up wanting to play high school football, and then you get into high school football and you dream to play college football, and the dreams keep going. From your perspective, what's today already been like for you?
A lot of media attention, of course. Everybody introduced recruits on Twitter and Longhorn Network introducing all the signees. Like Twitter, Instagram, all of that's been blowing up my phone. For the rest of the day, I just have to get ready for my signing ceremony at my school.
Justice, do you really? I don't know that you committed on September 9th. The commitment class, your recruiting class right now has got really crazy momentum. I mean, we even during the rest of the day, we're expecting more names to join aboard. I felt like there's a few of you, Jamon Tapp and you, I feel like we're really critical to keeping the momentum going in this class while Texas kept really working the in-state guys in the state of Texas. Do you view yourself as a foundational piece of this class, as a guy that was really important to it being able to be the class that it's turning into?
I think so because especially with the way Texas season has turned out, I think I brought a lot of faith and hope. Seeing as especially a kid from Alabama, choosing Texas over Alabama, being different, coming to accomplish and build something at Texas.
Justice, out of all the programs you could have chosen, and you had so many options, why Texas? What was it that was so appealing for you to say, all right, I'll leave home and I'll go ahead and join Sarkisian, Kwiatkowski, Bo Davis?
Well, of course, in a lot of the articles, I mentioned books and ball. I was looking for a school with a good mix of books and ball. And of course, I want to be a neurosurgeon or a plastic surgeon. And with Dell Medical School being on campus, I just thought that was very convenient.
Well, so what's so appealing about being a neurosurgeon, by the way? What's the allure of that?
So in first grade, I used to watch a lot of CSI crime shows and stuff like that. And originally it was a forensic pathologist. And then I kind of just got interested in how the human brain works. I watched surgeries on YouTube and got really interested.
Jordan, just for the record, neurosurgeon for you too? No neurosurgery in your future? Fair enough. Justice, just your thoughts on today. Have you been one of these guys that's been heavily involved in texting, Instagram living, the recruiting, or is it harder for you to do? Like in 2021 with all of technology, is it really easy, or how involved have you been?
I've been very involved. A lot of these flips and these commits we've got recently, I've been texting them way beforehand, convincing them, showing them all the benefits of Texas that they can get out of it. With the Instagram lives, yeah, I've been a front runner for that, me and Derek Brown. And 2021 with all this technology, it's really easy, especially I could just tweet at a recruit and be like, hey, what's up? Or I can let Longhorn Nation, what's coming? Keep everybody on their toes. So it's been really easy.
Justin,
I got it. Go ahead, Anwar.
Yeah, this will be the last one for me. Justin, I got to ask, who are maybe the guys that you connected with during the recruiting process at UT, some of the players, and who are the guys that, those guys that you felt like really gave you the lay of the land?
Xavier Worthy, Bijan, and Byron Murphy.
Last question. We've had to ask everybody about the quarterback question, Quinn Ewers. It's a big deal when a guy with that reputation, that level of prestige, I guess, as a recruit at the quarterback position comes in. Didn't affect your recruitment, Justice. I mean, you committed in September. You had, I would imagine it's a hell of an add-on to have. I'm just curious, can you describe like the excitement level or the feelings that go with you've been involved in trying to get this thing really going forward for the last few weeks, last few months? All your hard work is paid off, not just with Quinn Ewers, but with a number of guys. Do you feel like it's been a job well done? Like when you go to have your ceremony today, will you be able to give yourself a baby pat on the back for kind of how this whole thing has come together and your role in it?
Yeah, I think so, because I feel very accomplished in my efforts of recruiting. Bringing all these guys along on board to show them what we're building. With the addition of Quinn Ewers, I think that gives, with him coming, that does bring a lot of guys that want to hop on board now. But pretty much, I think all my hard work is paid off.
Fellas, Jordan, Justice, you got a lot. Jordan can just chill out a little bit. Finals are over, right? You're good. You're enjoying your little winter semester break? I'm not sure. I think we may have lost Jordan's mic. That's all right. Hey, Justice, Jordan, have a great Christmas, a great holidays. Congratulations, Justice, really on everything. But we really do appreciate you hopping on and giving us a little bit of time. We'll let you get back to your day. Justice Finkley and Jordan Whittington, everybody. Give them some love on their social media platforms. Give them follows. And, oh, by the way, and again, yes, thank you, Justice. We are up to 9,369 subscribers to the Orangebloods channel while we take a breath. Because Anwar, the last 2+ hours have flown by. I'll do that thing where I say, guys, help us get to 10,000 today. I don't want to turn it into like a Jerry Lewis telethon where we're like, but the last time I said, stop what you're doing and go subscribe to the channel, we got like 100 new subscribers in about 60 seconds. So guys, while we reset the table, while we get ready for our next guest, I believe Connor Robertson will be joining us. Jason Suchomel will be joining in. I'm going to try to get Cole Patterson to join us. He was at Terrence Brooks's announcement earlier today. I'll just say, hey, do us a solid. Help us get to 10,000. Go give us a subscription to the channel. It's free. Maybe even click on the notifications, and you will be able to get all of our video content as it happens. The show only picks up steam from here because this offseason is really turned into something that we just wouldn't have anticipated, Anwar. Like, when the Kansas State game ended, I don't know that we were thinking, can't wait till National Signing Day. How much fun is that going to be? And yet here we are. I'm just going to tell you right now the answer to your very first question of the day, most memorable National Signing Day ever. I think it's this. I think we're taking part in it. And the fact that when we sign off today, it won't be done. Crazy for me.
I mean, it's really great. It's remarkable. I mean, it would be quite honest with you because, I mean, Ketch, if you would have said this after Kansas, where after the Kansas loss, or right there, we see like a recruit that was kind of chuckling at the time. I was like, man, this ain't gonna be nothing to look forward to. I mean, this is I've seen this show and I know how it ends. And it's not going to be good. The fact that it's ending so differently than we would have ever anticipated. The fact that I think heading into, I mean, and again, it was heading into signing day, but there had been maybe like 3 guys, I think, who had committed since October. So it's kind of been that kind of wait and see, and then you start picking up, momentum and more momentum and more momentum, and starting kind of leading into this, and really, over the weekend when you have the Quinn becomes official, that Banks becomes official, and remember I told you, Ketch, at that when we did the show this past weekend, and Banks had committed, I had said I was like I'm good. If you do nothing else and you said there's a 5-star offensive lineman, I'm good because I'm that guy, Ketch, who goes to Vegas, and I'm the guy that I just there's 2 things I've never really seen go out of business: a casino or a McDonald's. I figured both of them have a formula of success. So if I go to Vegas, I'm not a huge spender. Like, I'm that guy that goes in there. Maybe I'll do $50 on blackjack, probably $20 in slots. I ain't sexy. I'm not sexy. So I'm the guy that walks away. I put $20 in the slot. I get up to like 60. I'm like, I'm out. Let me go ahead and buy a couple of drinks, and I'm good to go. Actually, technically, if you play a bunch of games, they give you free drinks. So I would have taken Banks and ran with it. And you told me, hey, Anwar, you got Banks in yours. Will you take this and walk away? I would have walked away.
You're let's making a deal it, and you're good. Bird in hand.
I'm good. I'm good. But they kept going. They kept going. They're closing as strong as I have seen on this day. Again, most of the signing days I've been a part of, Ketch, have been, especially the ones I paid attention to, but I paid attention to them all, has been Texas losing out on the big names today. Like there may have been some horses in the barn, but today is usually the day where it's like that. Oh, well, that guy's going to A&M. Oh, well, that guy's going to Ohio State. Oh, that guy's going to Oregon. That kind of happened. Like that's what in what we're seeing is kind of the opposite. We're seeing like, oh, that guy's going to Texas. Oh, that guy's going to Texas, and it's like
it feels like we would have been homers to suggest 2 weeks ago. Oh. They'll get this guy. They're going to get Quinn Ewers. They're going to get Kelvin Banks. They're going to get Cameron Williams. They're going to get NATO. They're going to get Terrence Brooks. Had we said that 2 weeks ago,
oh my gosh,
we'd have got flogged.
Yeah,
they'd have canceled us because there was no sign that the momentum that existed at that level. And the joke on the Orangebloods message board for a long time has been everybody. Right? ERRRRBOBY. Everybody. Yeah. DY, I guess. This has turned into a signing day where Texas isn't getting everybody. They're getting a lot. And to continue the conversation, this will be his third appearance on the show, once an hour so far throughout our show. Jason Suchomel rejoining us here on the Orangebloods National Signing Day show. I really wish you could have hung out with us a little bit, Jason. We had Keondre Coburn and DeMarvion Overshown, Jordan Whittington.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun. The guests have been in good moods. We're going to have Connor Robertson.
No, Connor, bearer of bad news. Connor and I are texting. He's still doing media stuff at Westlake, so probably not going to get Connor, unfortunately.
Falling in the mod rankings as we speak.
I will go do a one-on-one video with Connor. He's at Westlake. Come on. We'll
so, Jason, real quick. I think the chat for Anwar and I, I've got tabs, browsers. I just went to the Longhorn Network Twitter page to make sure that nobody else had jumped in and officially, and like technically we're still waiting on Terrence Brooks to officially sign before we flip him over on the commitment list. Evan Stewart's name is popping up in this chat.
All caps every 5 seconds. Evan Stewart, because Anwar and I really haven't talked a lot about Evan Stewart so far today. There's been so much else to talk about. Let's start with Evan Stewart. What's going on there? Here's what I know about Evan Stewart, okay? He hasn't signed yet, of course, and he doesn't have a set signing time, which – not that Texas A&M fans are watching this right now, but if you're a Texas A&M fan, that should be a bit worrisome. This is a guy who wants to keep everybody guessing. He does keep everybody guessing. Getting some weird echo, but he does keep everybody guessing. He doesn't have a set signing time, so everybody's just kind of wondering and waiting what's going to happen. I still think there's confidence on A&M, but every passing minute, that confidence seems to dwindle.
What else? I know that we put Armani Winfield as far as – and real quick, Jason, to pick up the conversation, because the last thing we talked about on your last visit in the last hour was the email that I received from the NCAA that kind of clarified the numbers and that, Texas can divvy up 33 incoming players however it wants to. I think we know that they've got to transfer in Quinn Ewers. We know that Ryan Watts – it would be, to me now, the world's biggest shock if after Terrence Brooks flips from Ohio State to Texas, that Ryan Watts isn't a member of the team whenever the announcement might officially come. But Texas going heavy with the high school numbers. I don't know where this thing finishes today with regards to how many names actually are on the commitment list. It makes me look at the likes of Anthony Jones and Ronald Lewis, and I hate to say it for them, but I wonder what it means for them. Where do you think we finish the day numbers-wise?
I've lost count. What are we at right now?
Officially, technically, Texas is at 26.
Oh, 26 with the new ones today. Yeah, you're right.
But that includes everybody who hasn't signed. And again, it's tough to know what it means for Ronald Lewis and Anthony Jones.
I think for all intents and purposes. I've got my audio turned down, so I don't know why I'm getting an echo here. But
You're echoing. Maybe turn your volume down a little bit.
I've got it like way down. I can barely hear you. Way lower than I had it earlier.
That's better now.
I'll kind of try to work through it. But I think for all intents and purposes, Ketch, you can take those guys off the commitment list. Maybe if they have room in February, if they want to recommit in the case of Champ Lewis, maybe that happens, but let's just call it what it is. I think it's unlikely that you'll see either of those two guys, Anthony Jones or Champ Lewis, in this class at this point. You mentioned Armani Winfield at 4:00, Malik Agbo's at 4:00. People I'm texting with in between the last time I was with y'all and this time, of course, they're fully expecting both of those guys to be in this class by the end of the day. So we're at 26. It's going to get to 28. You might have a couple of those names peel off. But, right now, yeah, they're looking really good to add a couple others. You mentioned, Terrence Brooks and, the Ohio State transfer. I'm drawing a blank.
Ryan Watts.
Watts, thank you very much. I texted with Watts earlier this week, and I've known Ryan from back when he was a recruit. And, yeah, Texas has definitely been in touch right there. What I was told with Terrence Brooks, they're not attached at the hip like some people think they are. Ryan Watts is from Little Elm. Terrence Brooks is at Little Elm, but Terrence kind of came in to Little Elm. He transferred in as Ryan was leaving. I mean, they're friends, but, it's certainly not going to hurt Texas with Ryan Watts, let's say that. But I don't think it's safe to say, hey, Texas is a 100% stone cold lock because they got Terrence Brooks. My money would be on Texas for Ryan Watts, but not necessarily because they got Terrence Brooks. So I think they'll add a couple more before the end of the day today. We're still watching Evan Stewart. We're still waiting on some key ones like Malik Murphy. I've reached out to someone close to Malik, said, hey, what time is Malik signing today? I haven't heard back. So, the longer that one goes on, do you get a little bit nervous? Malik, he's kind of gone silent on everybody, me especially. He hasn't really liked much, and I haven't checked this morning, but in terms of Texas social media activity, Malik's always been really active. Well, he hasn't really been very active at all since Quinn Ewers committed on Sunday. Now, someone yesterday close to Malik said he is signing. He wants to come in there and compete. So I'm still fully expecting it. I don't want to sound the alarm bells, but like I said with Evan Stewart, the longer these things go on, the more nervous you get a little bit. So someone said 2:00 for Malik. I haven't confirmed that. I've reached out to the same person that told us he is signing, but I haven't heard back directly. So, still some moving parts. We're still watching. And like I said, we got several hours left in this day, and we'll be tracking several stories still the remainder of the day.
Jason, just looking at, at the class now, give the viewers kind of an idea, like, where do you think Texas is strongest at? Like, what positions do you feel like they've loaded up on with just a crap load of talent?
Well, if I'm considering Quinn Ewers, and I know I'm kind of cheating considering him part of this class, you have to start with quarterback, right? Him and Malik Murphy. Yeah, there's a year separation, but they both were 2022 kids at one point. But I immediately go onward to offensive line, which is crazy because 5 days ago we were, not we, but Texas fans were wringing their hands about, oh my gosh, we only have 2 offensive line commitments. What's going to happen? And now all of a sudden, they've reeled in 3 more. They're sitting at 5. They may likely get 6 today. Devon Campbell is going to wait until February, but I still favor Texas in that race. So offensive line went from a bit of a concern to, and I'm looking down as I'm getting my phone's blowing up, but a bit of a concern to, like, it has a very likely chance to be the number 1 offensive line class in the country. I think Bo Davis has done a great job along the defensive line. You guys had Justice Finkley on, and Justice is one of the best players among that group. He's one of the best players in the country. You guys heard him talk, man. He's a guy that's going to come in and be a locker room presence for you. He's going to work his tail off. He's going to be a good influence on others. They took him away from Alabama, man. That's a huge get. So I think defensive line is another area they're really strong in. And I think secondary is getting a lot stronger with Terrence Brooks. They've added some pieces there. Xavier Bryce this morning. So I think secondary still, you're still waiting to see what happens with Denver Harris. But this class, you heard it said before any of it ever happened, they needed to load up in the trenches on both sides of the ball. And man, did they ever. I mean, they've done well at other positions, but it begins and ends with offensive line and defensive line / edge players. They've done a tremendous job in shoring up the trenches, it was really badly needed for this program, and they've done a great job in those two spots.
Jason, I'll let you go. Can you, with this question, from a timing standpoint, it's 10:25 a.m. Walk us through your expected. Look, Evan Stewart, who the hell knows, right? I mean, there's no plan there, but everybody else's plans that you're aware of look like what?
Yeah, Evan could announce today. It could be now, could be later today. They have till Friday, of course, to announce. He may wait till January. Who knows with Evan? I mean, he is planning on enrolling early, but Evan's such a wild card. Most of the committed guys are in. Shaz Preston, the wide receiver that Texas is kind of battling Alabama and LSU, he's at 145. Savion Red, the athlete out of Grand Prairie, he's at 2:00. I expect that one to go Texas's way. Orangebloods will be there. And then we have Sark at 3:30, of course. Anwar will be there for that. And then at 4:00, we've got two announcements that should happen right at 4:00. Malik Agbo, the offensive lineman out of Washington State, and Armani Winfield, who we've talked about, the wide receiver. I'm expecting both those guys to be in this class. So are people with Texas connections are expecting both those guys to be in this class, along with Savion Red. Lots going on there. And then we've got a couple guys. We'll wait till Friday. A guy like Kendrick Law, who's an athlete out of Louisiana. I've been here for weeks. Nobody's been giving Texas a big chance. Everybody thought LSU. No. I've been hearing Texas and Alabama for weeks, probably favoring Alabama, but he's waiting till Friday. Kendrick Law, he's a really, really good player, kind of in the mold of character-wise Justice Finkley. He's an honor student. I mean, this is a guy where academics matter, so that helps Texas. But he's announcing Friday at 3:00, Ketchum. A lot can change between now and Friday at 3. Who knows what Alabama's numbers look like, if they'll have space. So don't sleep on Kendrick Law. I'm not predicting him to Texas at this point, but Friday feels like it's forever away at this point, doesn't it?
Well, and at this point, the way the last 100 hours have been going, and the Amari Abor thing really kind of blew my mind a little bit today, that nothing's going to happen with him today, but that's not an Ohio State slam dunk, and that Texas is involved. It really does feel like anything's possible at this point. If a guy that hasn't really visited since the summer is suddenly in play in a way that 24 hours ago we might not have suggested, yeah, it does feel like we can pretty much say anything and everything could potentially happen before we get to Saturday.
Yeah, Amari, there was a time when everybody thought it was Ohio State and Oklahoma, probably Oklahoma. Well, when he showed up at that visit that I told you about, I can't remember if it was June or July, so long ago, but he kind of dropped a bombshell then. He goes, nah, Oklahoma's out, not really talking to him. Like, whoa, what's going on? This is a guy who's a elite top national prospect. Oklahoma wasn't really talking to him. I think most people assumed at that point it was going to go Ohio State's way, but again, like you said, it's a weird cycle. I mean, Texas is in the mix. We talked about it earlier. That comes straight from his dad. He's going to announce at the Under Armour game January 2nd. So I'm not fully buying in. I'm not saying, hey, Texas is a team to beat there. But listen, just even having a puncher's chance in that one, if you're a Texas fan, you got to be pretty happy about that.
Jason, go do your thing, my man. Anwar, you got anything else for Jason real quick?
No, he's like our Woj over here, right? He just pops in, gives us updates, and then he's checking his phone and stuff like that. Or Adam Schefter. I don't know which one we want to call him, but go back to do what you do. This is your day.
Got to find a way to get some food in here at some point. I'm going to have to call some.
Oh, you can eat. You should have heard Keondre Coburn and DeMarvion Overshone singing the virtues of NIL because they can get the 75 cents they need to add cheese to their Whataburger meals. It really put into perspective. You know what? Money does make life a little bit better when you can buy the cheese. At some point today, Jason, you let me know. We'll find a way to put some cheese on your burger.
Sounds good, guys. We'll talk soon.
You got it, Jason Suchomel from Orangebloods.com. Our Adrian Wojnarowski / Adam Schefter looking at his phone, giving us updates. I want to deviate real quick, Anwar, from what we've been talking about to a discussion that's been going crazy on our Slack channel. It hasn't happened yet, but Travis Hunter is an athlete from Georgia. He's the #1 rated player in the country from Rivals.com. And there's a lot of buzz at this very moment that instead of Florida State, who, by the way, had their offensive coordinator announced it on signing day. Like, I mean, I can only imagine how pissed the head coach is that his offensive coordinator on signing day, not the day after signing day, on signing day, is going to Oregon, right? So Travis Hunter apparently is on the verge of signing with Deion Sanders at Jackson State. And Michael Rockman, our producer, posted a tweet that said that Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports is going to sign Travis Hunter to a $1 million plus NIL deal for a documentary while he's at Jackson State. Deion Sanders is going to be a factor in college football very soon in ways that I don't think that the mainstream college football fan totally understands.
The fact that you just said that they're about to get an elite guy and he's got the NIL deal, abso-freaking-lutely, right? I mean, it's funny being from Florida. I mean, I've met Deion. We have some mutual friends. As charismatic can be. First of all, Jackson State, actually, they had success this past season. So, I mean, you can see the development of that program. I think they only had one loss in the season, if I am correct. So, but yeah, I mean, to provide options, for HBCUs, that guys are saying, okay, yes, I have these programs, or I can go here, especially if there's NIL money to be had. Absolutely. I mean, there was a recruit. I think is it the guy from Minnesota, Ketch, that's also considering Jackson State and Texas, the offensive lineman,
right?
And so those are like some of his top programs. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is that what needs to happen, I think, Ketch, what didn't happen in the last draft. Once you start seeing guys getting drafted from, the HBCUs, once you see that start happening and occurring, then I think that path becomes a lot easier and it becomes a choice that it will become the wild card that's out there. It will be fun to watch. And I'm pulling for Deion. That'd be great for Deion, for all the HBCUs, out there, that, a lot of times have just don't have the resources and to compete against the Bamas and the Florida States and the Texas of the world. Like, they just don't have that money. So, you always want to root for the underdog, and I'm hoping that it works out for them.
So we are at 2,431 live viewers from what I can see on our National Signing Day show. The plan is to go to 11 o'clock. We'll see how it goes. Like, I'm not itching. It's funny, Anwar. The same thing is true in radio. When you've got good guests, it makes the clock go by so fast. If you just tuned in, when we're done here, this show is going to go to the YouTube channel. You're going to be able to watch it for the rest of your life, presumably, if you want to. So far today, we had Adam Gorney, National Rivals Analyst, join us in hour number 1. Mike Farrell joined us in hour number 2. A really interesting conversation with Mike. I thought there were comments from that that we might want to go back and pull for this week's War Room, Anwar, with regards to what his thoughts were with Ryan Watts, the Ohio State transfer that we expect to eventually end up at Texas. Terrence Brooks, his former teammate, committing and signing with Texas today. Keondre Coburn, DeMarvion Overshown, Justice Finkley, Jordan Whittington. I believe Tope Imade is going to join us before the show's over. Just because, why the hell not, right? Like, we're having a party. Everybody wants to join in. Quite frankly, if Alfio Randall, VC, is still in the chat, let's get you a Zoom link, Alfio. We'll bring you on this show as well. It's been over 20 years since that five-star offensive lineman signed. It was funny. We did the Kelvin reaction. We did the live modcast last week. And up until then, there hadn't been many five-star offensive linemen that had committed to Texas since Alfio Randall, VC, back in the day. It's been a fun show, and I want to let everybody know, Serenity letting me know right now that Tope is going to join us momentarily. I'm waiting for him to join in a little bit more Texas football player thought on today's proceedings.
By the way, Tope is an amazing interview.
Yeah, you talk about him with such fondness and positivity throughout his career. Looking forward to having him join us and give us some added perspective. I'm looking at our counter. We're at 9,437 subscribers. We are 63 away from 9,500. Do us a solid. If you're in the chat, if you're watching right now, all 2,000 plus of you, take a moment. Go subscribe to the channel. We will be live modcasting tomorrow. So Alex will be back. Jason will be back. The both of us will be back. You don't want to miss anything. This stands to be maybe the most interesting Texas offseason. I won't go of all time. That feels like hyperbole. But Anwar, you and I have been doing this now for almost a decade together. The Quinn Ewers element to this, with a signing class that is probably they're going to have enough numbers that I think this is going to be the best class that Texas has signed since you've been at Orangebloods. With all due respect to what Charlie did in 2015 and what Herman was able to do in 2018. Noah Guerrero asking if he can get an NIL deal if he subscribes to the channel. No.
Not how it works.
We're done with NIL deals temporarily. Let us get through December and January. But we will try our best to give you great content. And I'm watching the meter. I'd love for us to get to 9,500 in the next 10 minutes while we have our next guest. So, hey, subscribe to the channel. It's free. It's free. And you get stuff like our 3-hour National Signing Day show on the regular. We're trying to take this thing to new levels with regards to what we do on the Orangebloods channel. Speaking of which, player Tope Imade.
What's up, Tope?
Hey, Anwar, how are you doing?
Doing good. I don't know. I felt like we just lost Ketchum, so I'm sorry for the little bit of a delay there. First of all, it's good to see you. Before you got on, I'm still reminded of our interview that we had. We've only did one interview with you, Tope, in 6 years.
Yeah,
being on, and it was probably the best interview I think I've had in my tenure. I'm just kind of curious from a generic standpoint, how are you doing right now? I mean, the season's been over. Are you kind of preparing yourself to try to get NFL ready? Like, what have you been doing?
Well, the season's been done for about two or 3 weeks now, so I'm just enjoying my time right now, doing, working out, running, stuff like that. So I haven't made a decision yet whether I will pursue the NFL or not, but in case I do, I'm still staying ready and just being prepared.
Well, tell the folks, Tope, they may not know, but talk to them about the degrees, because you got more degrees than a thermometer at this moment. Tell them about the degrees that you have and some of the things that you were thinking about, because I'm going to use this, because after we do this, I'm going to use this as the opportunity to get you a JOB offer. So let's tell them about the degrees first.
Yeah, so I graduated May 2020 with my undergrad in corporate communications, graduated May 2021 with my master's in marketing, and then I should graduate summer 2022 with my second master's in sport management.
And the goal is to work where and why, Tope? Go ahead, because there may be someone listening right now who can make this thing happen for you, and I don't want this opportunity to pass.
Yeah, so the ultimate goal is to work at Disney, and it's kind of unexpected for people who don't know that, but like, again, I love Disney. Disney has Marvel, Lucasfilm, Natural Geographic. It has a lot of stuff that I'm interested in. So that's the end goal. So Disney, I love Disney growing up, and it'd be a dream to work there.
What is your favorite Marvel movie?
I'm gonna go with Black Panther. I can't do Infinity War or Avengers Endgame, because that's kind of like a loaded cast. But Spider-Man No Way Home comes out. Me and Denzel are gonna go see it tomorrow, so that's probably gonna be my favorite one after tomorrow night.
Tope, what do you make of what's happening in the program right now? You guys had a tough season.
Yeah.
It didn't go the way anybody wanted it to. It included a 6-game losing streak, which in real time when it happened felt like the most depressing thing you could imagine, right? I mean, it just, by the end, it was so thankful that the season ended with a win and you guys could feel good about winning and ended on a good note. And then we fast forward 2 weeks and a couple of days, and it feels like this program has got some real momentum. From your perspective, what the hell is happening?
Just complete buy-in in the program and outside the program, in terms of buying into Sark's offense, his mindset, and the culture of the team, and outside where we buy into recruiting, where like we want to get the guys that we want and we need in the program. So you have guys like Derek Brown, actually he's being recruited and he's actually doing recruiting for us too. So it's kind of funny there, but there's just complete buy-in, and you mentioned the 6-game losing streak. Like, I've been here for 6 years and I've never been a part of something like that. And for us to come back with an insane recruiting class after that, imagine next year when we go, when we have an even better record, right? So imagine that recruiting class. So all in all, just complete buy-in into in and outside of the program.
Tope, what's been the pitch, from your knowledge, what's the pitch to the young guys to come to Texas? What do you tell them when they ask you, why should I come to UT?
Well, shoot, for the past 2 weeks, it's been pitching itself, if you know what I mean. But personally, though, I've talked on my experiences, and as y'all may know, y'all been covering UT for a long time, and I've been here for 6 years. I haven't played till my 6th year, and that's all great. Gratitude to Coach Flood, where I developed in a matter of months. And that's me just completely buying into his philosophy and what he has, and him believing in me. So it's just insane how I grew so much. So just complete buy-in on my part and being able to grow. And if the rest of the team does that, I feel like they'd be great. So these comments are insane. How do y'all do this? I'm like trying to focus on y'all. I'm reading these stuff. I'm like, okay, this is getting out of hand. But yeah, it's just it's been insane. So
Tope, I actually have a Kyle Flood question for you. It was, he arrived with a reputation for being a big time recruiter, and yet he comes from Alabama, and you wonder how much of that is the Nick Saban fairy dust that anybody that works there gets to take advantage of, because the Alabama program for the last decade has been pretty incredible.
Yeah.
What he's pulled off on the back end of a season that didn't go, like you said, imagine what it can be when they're winning a lot of games and what recruiting can look like. Paint us a picture of Kyle Flood. Who is Kyle Flood that on the back end of a 5-7 season, he is landing the single best on paper offensive line class that I've seen in Texas recruiting history.
You say paint a picture, so like I'm gonna go with that imagery and just go with like he's like the Mona Lisa of art, right? So he can recruit, and just given his resume from Alabama, being able to be the only coach in college football to win the Joe Moore Award, win the Allen Trophy, win the Remington Trophy, all in 1 year, all in one setting. That's insane. So that kind of sells himself. And with my personal relationship with Coach Flood, like he knows, like he doesn't talk about how good he is. Like we all know he is, right? He doesn't like to talk about it. So that kind of just sells itself. Like you mentioned, having Alabama, fairy dust or whatever, kind of follow him from Tuscaloosa. But again, we lost 6 games in a row this year, and again, we're signing the best offensive line class we've ever seen in how long. And again, that just speaks to him as a coach, and how he relates to recruits, how he plans on, like, even when again, whenever I talk to recruits, I just tell them like my relationship with Coach Flood. The first thing he asked me was, how come I'm not playing? How come I'm not a starter? So just his relationship to recruits, and he's just an all-around great guy, great coach, great mentor. So even I was talking with him yesterday, just asking for advice about things, so I couldn't speak any more highly of him. So again, like in terms of painting a picture of Coach Flood, he is the Mona Lisa.
Well, I mean, that's a great quote. Anwar, you got a follow up to the
I got a couple of follow up. First of all, Tope, everyone has been asking in the comments. I know that's kind of getting a little overwhelming. They wanted to know, first of all, where at Disney would you want to work? Like what department? I guess they want to make sure they contact the right people. So where?
Marketing, whether that be streaming services, working on Disney Plus. So that's kind of where my goal is at right now, and hopefully it transitions into movies, and whether that be Black Panther 2 or this and that. But again, with football, I have little experience, so right now I'm just trying to get my feet wet, and then again, ultimately the goal will be at Disney. But right now I'm just taking a couple of steps I need to take to get there. So I appreciate y'all helping out.
No problem. And the other thing, Tope, is this is interesting because I find signing day always fascinating because it's the happiest moment that many college players may have. I mean, you've been in this thing for a long time, and you've had such a journey to really even get the recognition. Take us back to what you thought was your college career would look like on signing day.
Yeah.
And maybe some words of encouragement for just some recruits who may see this that may, think, I'm out. Every recruit who commits, Tope, says, for the next 3 or 4 years, I'm going to take my talents to such and such, right?
Okay.
So just tell about like maybe the importance of being patient in order to ultimately have success in college football.
So I feel like I am the perfect example of development, patience, perseverance. Again, everybody comes out of high school. Every recruit that ever comes to Texas comes out of high school a team captain, which I was, has hopes of coming in and contributing early, which I didn't. I didn't contribute till 2021, and I signed back in February 2016. So that's again 5.5 years. So again, I put it in my letter when I was, after 2 or 3 days after we finished playing, like, you may come out wanting to be the guy, but that not be the case. That might not be the case. Joseph Osai wasn't Joseph Osai in 2018. He still played a couple snaps, but he didn't pop off till about 2 years later. So even with me, like, I didn't play for 5 years. I had 3 head coaches, 4 O-line coaches, and with that instability came a lack of development. And now I believe we have a coaching staff that is great and amazing. We put up points in terms of offense, and I can't really speak to defense because I'm not a defensive player, even though I was there for a month or so. But just be patient. Even if you redshirt, like, take that as development. Develop physically, develop academically. If you want to stay for a 5th year, 6th year, if my case was kind of unique because of COVID, but pursue a postgraduate degree. Like, if you for your 5th year, like, if you're a freshman, you're redshirt, don't take that as anything bad. You're going against the best in the country. If you're a scout guy on defense, you're going against Bijan and possibly Quinn Ewers, every day. Like, take advantage of that and get better. DBs, like freshman DBs who redshirt, take advantage of that and get better. Me being on O-line, like I've been on a scout team for my first 2 years. One on when I was servicing the defense on offense, and then when I moved to defense, I was servicing the offense. Then when I was on defense, I was whatever you know what I'm trying to say, right? But
Yes.
I'm just like, so it's been 6 years. I'm kind of getting jumbled up, but like just take advantage of those scout team reps, that redshirt year. Like you never know when you're gonna be needed. I was needed after Denzel went down, and thank God for Coach Floyd. I developed in a matter of months. And I mentioned it to you, Anwar, when I did media about 2-3 weeks ago, where I was on, I didn't play at all in 2020, just field goal stuff like that. Moved to tackle November 2020. Moved back to guard. I missed spring ball because my mom passed away. Moved back to guard August 2021, and for Coach Flood to have only a matter of months to work on me and develop me to the player he knew I could be and where I thought I could be coming out of high school. That was for him to do that and for me to play on the back end of the year after Denzel got hurt and actually dominate and knock guys out. Keep in mind, I didn't play. The last game I started was 2015. That's 6 years later. I'm finally starting the college game. So it's just in terms of perseverance, just stay the course. Most guys can transfer, which I'm not knocking that at all, but y'all just stay the course. You never know what's going to happen, and if you would have said like after I signed my national letter of intent that I'd be here 6 years later and finally start a game, I was like, nah, I'm going to play early. I'm going to do this. But, God has a different plan for everybody. So I'm just grateful for the path of my journey and, meeting Coach Floyd and meeting Coach Sark and being developed the right way. And I couldn't be any more grateful.
Tope, last question. And I want to pick up on what you were just talking about. It wasn't that you played. It wasn't that Denzel got hurt and you were forced to play and you came in and you logged some snaps. Last month of the season, you were arguably the best offensive lineman on the team. Our guy Alex Dunlap breaking the film down like he has every snap for basically the last decade. And every week towards the end, he was like, "Guys, Tope, like, wow, he did some really great things in this game." From a football technical side, can you explain the light switch that flicked on? What did you suddenly start doing better in those last couple of months that made you go from a guy that wasn't on the field to being a guy that was not only on the field, but was incredibly impressive and a real positive factor for this team down the stretch?
I think it started Texas Tech game, we blew them out, and twos got in. And at that point, I was just playing carefree, and I was still worried. Like I hadn't played a game in 6 years, so I always had that little tentative side where, like, oh damn, like am I gonna mess up? Am I gonna do this? So even Texas Tech game, you can watch the film. I'm dumping bodies. Same thing with Rice, which is cool. But it didn't come till Denzel was hurt, and Coach Flood, like he watched me progress every week ever since we started the season. And my time came, and he's like, you're gonna start the Oklahoma State game, and even I was surprised. Funny story, that Monday I didn't even know Bijan is the one who called me late and woke me up, and he's like, "Bro, you're starting what?" And he's just so excited for me, and I actually got word from Bijan, and for him to be excited for me, and I just at that point I was like, okay, I got to step up my game. So the flip, you mentioned how it got progressively better every week, and that again, that's all credit to Coach Flood. Every mistake, everything I did wrong in practice was corrected spot on, like right then and there. So when it came to the same play, the similar play, I would do it more efficiently. So it all came credit to Coach Flood. And you mentioned the back end of the season. At that point I was just playing carefree. Like for Coach Flood to put so much thought and effort and belief in me, the least I can do for him, the least I can do for Longhorn Nation, the least I can do for my coaching staff and my teammates is just put it all on the line. Like I don't care about scoring points. I know points will come if I just dominate my guy. So I'm bending guys backwards, like pushing guys off the line. Like that's the least I can do for them. So if I had that mindset, everybody else had that mindset, we'd be hella successful. And I know we will be. But for me personally, it's just like I have to do this to show that my appreciation for Coach Flood, my appreciation for all the support Longhorn Nation, the coaching staff, and my teammates gave for me to finally start and the back end of the season. So me doing all that stuff is the least I can do. If I could do more, I wish I could. If I wish I had another year under Coach Flood so I can actually develop even more and contribute. But it sucks that it was my last year. But Coach Flood always says effort. He only requires effort and being able to recruit the next guy. So all my effort right now for this month of December is into recruiting the next guy, recruiting the next recruiting class. So NATO, Kelvin, like that's the least I can do for Longhorn Nation coming out. So I'm trying to leave Texas better. Leave it better than the way I found it. Right. So my freshman year it was just me, Gene, Shaq, and Denzel. But now we're signing 6, 7, 8 offensive linemen. Like it's insane. So it's the least I can do for Longhorn Nation and Coach Flood.
Tope, you basically converted. You're like everybody's new favorite Longhorn. I think you would take over the world if we had signed you to an NIL deal and let you get out in front of everybody open. You couldn't be more impressive. Anwar, you 100% right. Tope, go do the damn thing, man. Like, we're all rooting for you. You've been, I think, the highlight of our show today. I think everybody that's had a chance to watch you couldn't be more impressed with your attitude, what you've given us on the way of information. Go enjoy the rest of your day, my man. But sincerely, thank you for giving us some time. We're better for it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.
And oh, by the way, hire him, Disney. You won't regret it. Tope Imade, ladies and gentlemen. Anwar, as we go full speed ahead towards 2021, Malik is in. Malik Murphy is officially signed, sealed, and deliver. So that is a positive. And, as we're starting to approach 11 a.m. By the way, we hit 9,500 subscribers during that conversation. Thank you to everybody that helped us get to that number during the show, during that interview. We will still continue to ask, hey, do us a solid, subscribe to the channel while you're watching the channel. I guess we'll start wrapping things up a little bit. We're still waiting for we could probably go all day, but we've been going for 3 hours. We don't have to stop. I'm guessing we'll go a little bit beyond 11 o'clock.
I do have something I want to address.
Go for it, by all means.
I don't want to. The Malik Murphy thing. Let me. I'm starting to really like Malik Murphy. Okay, and it's not to say I didn't. I would just say previously I was indifferent towards it. I knew he had excelled, obviously, in the camp settings. He didn't really have anything on the high school to really show me stuff. So I was like, all right, I like the guys who, play at a high level in high school, especially at quarterback. That's always been my thing. Is I feel like good quarterbacks raise the level of teams around them. I've seen it for too many years how a good quarterback just makes everyone who might be somewhat average better. And good quarterbacks should be able to get you 7 wins easily. So I was a little kind of like, I don't know what to make of him. And obviously they had the football season to start off earlier this year. And then this year he leads them to a state championship where I'm like, okay, this is what I want to see. But now here's what I like about Malik Murphy. Unlike all these other guys that you see, Ketch, let me be a little passionate about this. Unlike all these other guys who you see that get scared of competition, that the moment that someone comes into the class that has some hype, now all of a sudden they run away because they want to be handed something. They want to be guaranteed something. They just want to be the man and not have to work for it. The fact that Malik Murphy comes in and he already knows that he's got to sit behind Hudson Card or Casey Thompson, that's fine. He enters in knowing that. The fact that Quinn Ewers shows up and this guy, everyone's throwing the flowers at him. Everyone's throwing the rose petals at him. And it's almost like Malik Murphy is like, oh, yeah, there's that Malik guy. But look at Quinn. Look at the money he's going to make from NIL. This would have been very easy for Malik Murphy to say, you know what? Easier paths out there. I'm not going to go to Texas. I'm not going to compete against that guy. It would have been really easy for Malik to run away from this. And the fact that he has decided that, you know what? I don't give a damn who the hell is coming in here. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to compete. And you know what? I kind of think I'm better than Quinn. This guy, just from a confidence standpoint, Catch, just for him coming, no matter what happens, I will always give him props, always give him praise for not shying away from competition and embracing it.
Malik Murphy's my favorite guy in this class. Just no doubt about it. Everybody's like, show some professionalism and don't have favorites. We've all got favorites. Tope Imade is a favorite of mine. Now, after hearing that interview, guys become favorites for a whole lot of reasons. Malik's story is really interesting to me. What he's done in the last 12 months, how he's changed the perception of him in a very short amount of time. There were people in March of this year, Texas fans, who felt like Texas has got oh God, I'm sorry. Oh, Blake just photoshopped Kyle Flood's face onto the Mona Lisa.
Did he really?
It was only a matter of time before that happened. That's the funniest thing that I've seen.
Go to orangebloods.com. Go to our Twitter feed, and you'll know exactly what we're looking at.
But yeah, if you just joined us, Tope Imade, in trying to describe Kyle Flood, when I asked him to paint a picture of what makes Kyle Flood, he called him the Mona Lisa of coaches. And we've taken that and run with it with a little Photoshop over at our Orange Blood social media page. Oh, okay. There it is. I thought for a second I disappeared on more, that I dropped again. I've got so many browsers open and I'm clicking on so many things. I think I've stretched my capacity. So I'll try to continue to do the show without clicking on so many things that I drop and leave you alone. But and you can bring us back full screen now, Michael. The Kyle Flood thing is funny. Just to put the finishing touches on Malik Murphy. I think he's got a better arm than Quinn Ewers. I do. I think and we're talking about incredibly thin margins here, right? Like, to say that I like Malik Murphy's arm more than Quinn Ewers' arm is not to say that I think Quinn Ewers is terrible or that he doesn't have arm strength. Mike Farrell called Quinn Ewers and said he had a Matt Stafford type of arm. I don't personally believe that. I saw Matt Stafford, as did Mike Farrell, to be completely fair, but I saw a lot of Matt Stafford when he was in high school. I don't know that I would say either Malik or Quinn quite do that, but if I was going to compare one of those guys from an arm talent standpoint, I think Malik impresses me more from an arm talent standpoint. I think what's interesting about Quinn is that he's been a great player at the high school level before Malik. You know what I mean? So Malik was a talent, and Quinn Ewers was a talent and a player. By the end of 2021, we're talking about Malik Murphy in the same context. He is an incredible talent, and he is maybe an incredible player as well with the season that he had, leading his team to a state championship. Just amazing stuff on the Malik Murphy front. And with his letter of intent in, impossible not to go goo-goo and gaga over that guy with his talent and his character and his mental makeup, and the fact all he's had to listen to for the last week is Quinn Ewers this and Quinn Ewers that, and all he did was keep his head down, keep his mouth shut. Signs on National Signing Day. Will be here in January. The Malik Murphy-Quinn Ewers battle, bring it on. Bring it on. I can't wait to see it unfold. doubt Malik Murphy at your own risk. I think he's a kid that feeds on doubt. And for a guy who's a national top 50 kind of prospect, Anwar, that he of all guys gets to come in with a chip on his shoulder, little bit of let me show them attitude, I think will do him very well. He's a guy that doubt has served very well this season. The more he's been doubted, the more determined he's been. Weirdly, I think Quinn Ewers is going to bring the best out of Malik Murphy.
Yeah, because from a doubt perspective, Ketch, let's talk about, like I said, I told you, I admit it, there was some doubt for me just from what I didn't see much from a high school perspective. Now, Ketch, how much did Malik drop in the last rankings that came out? Didn't he drop like 50, 60 spots, something to that effect in Rivals?
Yes, he dropped. I think let me look it up real quick. I'll give it to you in just a second.
Okay, so but Malik was ranked, and you got to tell me, was he a 5-star at one point?
He was, for Rivals, he was a high 4-star who was like a national top 50 player. He didn't fall in the rankings while during his junior season. He fell to 128 nationally for Rivals on the back end of having a great season. It makes no sense to me. None. I love Rivals. More times than not, I will stand on a table and defend most of their rankings. Don't completely understand that one at all, that he was at his highest ranking when he wasn't performing well on the field. He wins the state championship, and it's like, okay, now we're going to drop him in the rankings. I think he's a 5-star level type talent.
Yeah. So you're talking about a guy who was questioned in high school, who gets dropped in the rankings, Ketch, and then here he is about a week and a half, 2 weeks or so before signing day, and everyone's like, Quinn Ewers happy, and no one's talking about Malik, and it gets discarded. So you talk about a guy who will come in with an ultimate chip, who said, man, they doubted me in high school, they doubted me in the rankings, they doubted me in this quarterback battle. Yeah, that's what Sarkisian needs. He needs to be able to have those guys who are coming in hungry, eager, ready, to win this battle. And again, one of those guys, Ketch, has the possibility to get called on very early if Hudson Card leaves by some chance. And I think, we're guessing, as far as which one of those guys is potentially going to leave at some point next year. But if one of the guys who played at quarterback last year at Texas leaves, there becomes a battle for, okay, well, who becomes, that backup guy. And so, I don't think Charles Wright would necessarily be in the mix. He's kind of a developmental project. At this point, Ben Ballard had to kind of fill in. It's going to probably be between Malik and Quinn for the right to at least be the backup. At the very least, if you go by what Sarkisian said, there could be a competition to see who starts. Catch. We saw Heisman odds yesterday for Quinn Ewers, and it was like 25-1, something crazy like that. But being able to get Malik to stay, like I said, I'll always have respect for him. He does have a really good arm. I'm excited to see what happens. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't who's who. I think I'm high on Quinn, and I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's talented. I think he's fast as well. The thing is, Sarkisian doesn't necessarily look for quarterbacks to run outside the pocket, but Quinn is a little bit faster than I think most people give him credit for. Yeah. It will be when you started talking about, you said something earlier about what we'll be watching in the offseason narratives, like that one, no one will get enough of, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely like Malik. Like I said, definitely a lot of respect for him. And that heart that he has, because I know his heart does not pump Kool-Aid juice. I can tell that.
The Texas quarterback room right now: Casey Thompson, Hudson Card, Quinn Ewers, Malik Murphy, Charles Wright, Ben Ballard. Now, the way things usually work, your first and second string guys get all of the team reps with the 1s and the 2s. Your 3 and your 4 are sharing scout team reps. One of the something you would imagine in the Texas quarterback room will have to give at this point. For instance, if Charles Wright is 5th on that list, there's really not room for 5 quarterbacks to get reps in practice. So it will be interesting to see if something gives with Casey or Hudson. I think you and I expect Casey to return at this point. He has some advantages. He did lead the Big 12 in touchdown passes. He has spent a year in this system with live reps, all of that stuff. Like, he has the advantages that he didn't have a year ago, ironically enough. All it took was 12 months, and suddenly Casey has experience and has played in a bunch of games and has experience in the system. Any predictions on? I mean, I don't want to say we expect Hudson Card to transfer. We expect Charles Wright to transfer. Like, that doesn't feel fair. But again, most Division I programs don't have systems in place that allow for more than 3 or 4 guys to get reps. There will be some odd people out as soon as the spring, because everybody that they got will be here in January.
Yeah, I mean, what'd be interesting to see, Ketch, for me would be what is Hudson's graduation path? Because we've seen guys get it out of here in 3 years, right? So if he's the kind of guy that said, okay, I'm going to be here for 3 years, and kind of like Casey did, graduate in 3 years and have a bunch of years left. If he's able to do that, then maybe he hangs around and competes and says, all right, and tries to fight back to get the job. I mean, Hudson did win the job last year. Now, what we'll see is, what may be gun shy for Sarkisian might be he looked great in practice. I'm not worried about practice. I'm more so worried about what's going to happen in the game. So that becomes like the question of, will Sarkisian trust him again, or will he go with something bona fide? And look, when you've got Bama coming in week 2, Catch, you can't have any guessing games there. I mean, you've got to be able to say, I know for sure who my guy is going to be. But so it's going to be hard, Catch, to keep Casey, keep Hudson, to then have Quinn, to add in Malik. So you got 4. Charles Wright is still on scholarship. That's 5 scholarship guys. And then, of course, Ben Ballard's in the mix. And technically, Ben was higher up on the depth chart at that point. So there'll be a lot of odd men out, or a couple of odd men out as far as that is concerned. It'll probably be, some real – I'm sure Sarkisian's already had some real conversations. I don't know what that quarterback battle was going to look like next year. I don't know who hangs around next year. I think, like I said, got a good idea that Casey will probably hang around. I don't know, can't speak for the other guys in the room, but I have heard there's a possibility Hudson may be graduating next year. If it's true, I don't have that verified. If it's true, then that makes it a whole lot interest. But yeah, we'll know, Catch, in the spring. I mean, you're going to have to divvy up reps.
Yeah.
It's going to be really obvious, okay, well, this guy's getting this percentage, this guy's getting this percentage, and, this and this. So it's going to be really obvious in the spring what's going on. I think we'll know more by how those reps are divided, who stays and who goes.
Some house cleaning on what remains on the table. By the way, we're still going. It's, you know what? I don't know what we expected today from the National Signing Day show, like how many people would be in the room. At our best during the season, we were sitting at over 1,000 in the live post-game show. We're still at 1,800 plus watching us 3 hours and 13 minutes into the show.
Overtime.
We've gained approximately 500 subscribers onto the channel during the course of the show. So just wanted to take a moment, say thank you to everybody. We're not wrapping up necessarily. We will in a little bit. I just wanted to take stock of kind of the success that this has been so far. You guys have been with us. I just want to say thank you. Like, when we came up with this idea a couple of weeks ago, we had hoped something like 2,500 people would be in the room at one time riding shotgun with us while we do all of this. This has been fun. This will clearly be the new standard, Anwar. Like, forevermore, we've got to do 3-hour, 4-hour live signing day shows because it will feel like we've failed if we can't do this again. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, when we kind of formulated an idea, I thought it'd be good. It's very rare that 3 hours flies by, but I'm literally like, well, shit, we can keep going. I mean, I'm good. Like it is, but yeah, it becomes our new standard. It becomes a standard that we got to do more of. It becomes. I mean, you'll see as we do it, other people will do it as well. But you guys stay with us, the originals, the originators, and but yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun getting text messages from people who I know who are watching the show. People are like, hey, I like your background in your house. Like it's been a fun experience.
So when we were talking last night, me, you, Ari, and I was laying out the groundwork for, it's an interesting little moment on signing day because we'll go into today with 5 of the top 9 players in the state being uncommitted. None of them, for everything that's happened so far today, Anwar, none of the 5 have announced anything. So if we look at my rankings that I updated this week, you've got Harold Perkins, the linebacker from Cypress Park, who's expected to announce and sign in February. You've got Devin Campbell, the 5-star offensive lineman, who Texas greatly covets. They had hoped that they might be able to squeeze him in today. He's out there. Denver Harris might be, in the immediate here and now, the most interesting guy that we could possibly talk about, the 5-star cornerback out of Galena Park, North Shore. It's between Texas and Texas A&M. Texas A&M has had leverage for a while. It feels like Texas, in the last 48 hours, had gained a lot of momentum. I saw in our Slack conversation in the last 10 minutes that the expectation now is that Denver Harris, according to Sam Kahn, who I believe is with The Athletic, but has also worked at ESPN, and apologies to Sam if I get his current place of employment incorrect.
He's at The Athletic.
He is at The Athletic. Good. I was worried for a second I might mess that up. His tweet 16 minutes ago was that Denver Harris says he will not announce today. He plans to sign in the early period, but will announce after North Shore State Championship game on Saturday. One of the scuttlebutt that I've seen both in this chat, I've seen it in our Slack, I've seen it on Twitter. There was a North Shore source that was on a different Texas message board. By the way, shame on that source for not being on orangebloods.com. I mean, why the hell would you be on anybody else's message board of all things? A North Shore source is indicating that Denver Harris will sign with Texas. We'll see. But that is, so in order for that to happen, he has to sign before Saturday. So he could sign today and not announce anything. Same thing, he could sign for Thursday, sign on Friday, and then the window shuts. His plan is to announce after the state championship game on Saturday. That, boy, we keep talking about cherries on top of the sundaes in this recruiting class. They keep coming, and if they're able to pull Denver Harris, who as a young player is probably the best young cornerback prospect I've ever seen come out of the state of Texas. You know, he had an injury issue after his sophomore season. I think the kid, I mean, that's a kid that should play on Sundays one day. to take that kid from A&M, if they can pull it off, again, a lot of cherries on this Sunday, as it would turn out, that would be one of the biggest. Oh, by the way, also knowing that, Malik Agbo, the offensive lineman, still slated to make his decision later today. Amario Bohr, the defensive end from Duncanville, who, let me tell you how much I like him, Anwar. I think if Amario Bohr signs with Texas, he's the best defensive line commitment signing in this class. That would be, for me, completely out of left field to a certain extent. So a lot of pans still in the fire, but my goodness, kudos to Steve Sarkisian and the staff. They've turned out to be the recruiting staff that they were hyped up to be when they arrived 12 months ago.
Absolutely. And you know what that means, Ketch, going forward, is that if it ever seems like they're off to a quote unquote slow start, or it seems like maybe they're not picking up enough at a certain position, going forward, we now know, sit back, relax, let this play out. Don't ride the emotional roller coaster, because what we saw was, again, them closing and kind of doing the damn thing. And again, Catch, one of the things that's interesting, and I've got your LSR pulled up for 2022. For those who are unfamiliar, Rivals has their rankings, 24/7 has their rankings, but Catch has been doing his rankings for a million years. It's called the Lone Star Recruiting. If you go to orangebloods.com and kind of click on the football tab, if you want to just follow along, you can kind of see what I'll be referring to. You can click on the football tab and you just see the LSR 2022. You'll see, what's interesting, Catch, is since I have been here, the biggest thing that I've seen and the biggest problem that I've seen in recruiting has been other programs coming inside the state of Texas and just taking what they want. They just take what they want. Let me get these top guys. Let me get this. And then you guys in the state of Texas, you can have what's left after Alabama takes what they want. Ohio State takes what they want. Clemson goes ahead and takes what they want. And then Texas left with scraps, which was opposite from Catch how you described it to me, what it used to be like under Mac Brown, which was Mac Brown would get all these commits, and then everybody else would have to take the leftovers. So the biggest emphasis has been, I've heard Charlie say this, Coach Strong say it, I've heard Coach Herman say it, and of course it was said here when Sarkisian was hired, was keeping some of the best guys in the state of Texas within the Texas program. And Catch, when I look at your LSR, there are a lot of guys that Texas has snagged, whether it's the Kelvin Banks that you have at number 6, Neto at number 10, Brennan Thompson is at number 11. You've got Terrence Brooks at 13, Bledsoe at 16. I mean, it looks like, Catch, and with some guys still that they're still in the mix. Devin Campbell as a possibility at number 4, and Devin Harris number 5. If they're able to essentially keep these elite guys, have them come to Texas, I think that's the other win that we won't talk about as much. But I think it all ends up being really huge to say, all right, guys, you guys don't have to go other places. You don't have to go to Alabama to be successful. I mean, how they got the guy to flip. So I think that, I think, and again, he was in Alabama, but so maybe that wasn't the best example. But basically, keeping guys within the state, I think, becomes a huge win for Texas.
To give everybody an idea of what the team rankings look like on the Rivals.com side of things. Georgia, number 1. Alabama, number 2. Texas A&M, number 3. Ohio State, number 4. Texas, number 5.
Wow.
And I wasn't sure, Anwar, that they were going to make – I wasn't sure a month ago if Texas was going to finish inside the top 10. And you and I have talked about this. We've talked about it on this show before. Being a top 10 recruiting class is overrated. Because in reality, when you're 10, when you're 9, when you're 12, 15, you're in those positions because you didn't sign 5 stars and high 4 stars. Really the guys that change programs and bring in, the highest of high NFL talents. For Texas to be in the top 5 right now is an indication of them really being able to go out and sign a number of really high-level talents that if you've got the number 10 class, it's really no different than the number 25. That Texas has moved its way into the top 5. It's like playing Monopoly. Nothing's the same as Park Place and Boardwalk. I mean, you can go to Marvin Gardens. You can go to Vermont. You can put houses and hotels on all of the properties. Boardwalk and Park Place matter the most. And that Texas is, in this recruiting class, been able to put themselves into a position where they're with that type of real estate. We've said it before. It really is a credit to what Steve Sarkisian has been able to do, that even in the midst of a 5-7 season, 6 straight losses, we're here. It's National Signing Day, and they're taking people's cornbread, man. I mean, if you look at the commitment class, here are the guys that they flipped. Xavier Bryce from Oklahoma to Texas. Ethan Burke from Michigan to Texas. Cameron Williams from Oregon to Texas. Kelvin Banks from Oregon to Texas. Jalen Gilbo, right? TCU, back to Texas. I'm flipping through the rest of these to see who I'm missing. Those are obviously, most of those have occurred over the court. Terrence Brooks, obviously today, from Ohio State to Texas. To be able to flip guys with national options, it really, I want to know what the secret sauce is. I want one of the questions to be answered or asked at Steve Sarkisian's press conference today. How did you guys do this? Because Mike Farrell told us in hour number 2 that the Texas program cachet has a lot to do with it. But you and I have been doing this for the last 10 years. Dudes have not been committing to Ohio State and flipping back to Texas.
No.
That it's happened in this class with the circumstances that it's happened. People can say NIL money, and I know that plays a role in it, right? Like, it can't be an accident that Texas started raining offensive line commits right after the $50,000 initiative was announced for Texas offensive linemen. But this goes beyond that. This goes into an area where you have to have significant momentum and a project to sell that kids believe in. And what we've learned today is that the high school prospects still believe in Steve Sarkisian to a very high degree. They still believe in his project, his sales pitch, and that nothing that happened during 5 and 7 changed that.
Yeah. And again, it speaks to like the latter part, believing in the vision. It's clear that he made it so everyone understands what the vision is going forward. I mean, Colby Harris, actually, it's funny. I see Colby Harris's comment is just the same as saying the same thing at the same time. So there's a jinx out there, but believing in, okay, yeah, despite of what you've seen on the field this season, in spite of Kansas, which could have been your death blow and for all intents and purposes. And I think for a weaker staff, it ends up really being that way. But be able to outline it and say, okay, yeah, this is what's happened, but here's the plan. Like, let me show you what this plan is. and how we're going to get from where we are now to where you're going to be in the future. Because here's the thing, the NIL sounds good, Catch, but the thing is what we're learning, and I've had a chance to talk to a few different recruits, these guys still feel like they can make money. Like the $50,000 base is good, like it's for an offensive lineman. Like, don't get me wrong, like everyone's happy about that, but they still feel like they can make their own money. Why? Because every kid who's signing on signing day still feels like they're going to go to the NFL. So you can't, reality only hits years down the line. Every kid, when they go on signing day, says for the next 3 to 4 years, this is where I'm taking my talents to. So they were Sarkisian, it's Flood. I mean, you go down the list, the staff, the recruiting staff, everybody was able to outline like, this is where we're going to be, and this is how you can help us get there. And guys signed on for it. Guys bought it. Guys believed in it. And when we were questioning if it could be done, they were able to get it done in a way that probably is more impressive than it's more impressive than anything I've seen from a recruiting standpoint, based off the circumstances. Not to say I haven't seen good classes. Tom Herman had 2 top 5 classes. That's not it. Based off of the starting point of saying you start from 5 and 7 in year 1, which we said, hey, that's easy to recruit against. That's an easy to recruit against thing. But Catch, when you look at, once again, when I looked at the Rivals rankings, and I've gone to the Rivals in the state of Texas, like their top 100, outside of Klubnik, and again, there's still some top 10 guys who haven't decided. You've got Julian Humphrey that's going to Georgia, and everybody else right now is in a Texas A&M. And from everything I'm reading, a lot of Texas is in the mix of them for a lot of these guys. This might be one of the first times, we'll see how it goes, that the top guys, especially top 10 guys, the majority of them stay inside of the state as opposed to leaving, which, damn, that's impressive as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, the highlights for me on this signing day, number one, Texas and Texas A&M both right now with top 5 classes, it sets up for next signing day, the 2023, sets up quite an in-state battle. I mean, when we look to the future and we're looking at guys that will really start to make some decisions in the next 3 or 4 months, right? I mean, signing day occurs, and then after February, from February through May, is when we see a ton of action take place. The A&M Texas battle for supremacy inside the state of Texas will be the next storyline, I think, to watch. They are battling out. They're throwing haymakers at each other right now in recruiting, to the point that we are waiting for Evan Stewart to make his announcement. We're waiting to see what Denver Harris does. Those are Texas versus Texas A&M battles, waiting to see how those unfold. Someone asked in the chat in the last 5 minutes about Cam Dewberry, the high 4-star prospect. That kid's going to sign with Texas A&M. It really would be a surprise if Cam Dewberry flips. He's been he was one of all the guys that could have come to Texas this weekend on a visit for some last-minute Texas interest. And Evan Stewart didn't do it, and you're still kind of hearing rumblings. And Denver Harris didn't do it. Cam Dewberry didn't do it, and he seems pretty locked in on Texas A&M. And those are the 5. I mean, the 5 in-state true big-time war daddy difference makers. Harold Perkins, A&M. Devin Campbell, seems like Texas. Denver Harris, Texas or Texas A&M. Omario Bohr, Ohio State, Texas. Cam Dewberry, Texas A&M. Both the 2 big in-state dogs did the thing of keeping kids in state this year in the most competitive recruiting landscape that we've ever seen. Both schools deserve a ton of credit. And Anwar, we'll wrap it up. We've gone for 3.5 hours. Any parting shots?
Yeah, my biggest parting shot is thank you. Thank you guys for checking it out and being with us for for those of you who started from start to finish. Beyond props to you. We appreciate it. But thank you. We been trying to do something new, creative. So please make sure before we go, once again, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get stuff. Hopefully we'll chop up some of these things, some of these interviews and that you may have missed earlier and be able to replay it. But thank you guys for checking it out. Thank you for listening. We got Sarkisian this afternoon at 3:30. Ketchum, are we going to record a video?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do it whenever you get home and you've had something. When you get settled, we'll do a Sarkisian wrap-up video, especially since there will be more news.
Mm-hmm.
We do expect Malik Agbo to sign with Texas. We do expect Armani Winfield to sign with Texas. And we expect to hear Steve Sarkisian talk about Quinn Ewers for the first time as a member of the University of Texas football program. Kind of a big deal. So knowing that there will be more Ketchum Anwar, I'll say it one more time. Thanks for watching. We're going to close this thing up with 1,800 of you still watching the show. That's badass. I mean, seriously. Do us a favor. One last time. Go subscribe to the channel. Get us in there. We're at 9546. I told Anwar I thought by the weekend we could be at 10,000. I think we've got a chance. I'm just going to say as we sign off, give us one more big spin of the wheel. If you're watching this thing, if you've enjoyed the coverage, if you've enjoyed the guests, if it's just been fun to have fun on National Signing Day, it doesn't end. We've got a show coming up later today with Anwar and I that will recap Steve Sarkisian. We've got the Modcast, which will be live tomorrow with myself, Anwar, Alex, Jason. We're not just telling you to subscribe because it's something for us. We're telling you to subscribe because the fun is just beginning. There will be more coverage, more shows, more reasons to be on the platform. So yeah, go give us a subscription right. Click on that subscription button. But for now, we're going to go take a pee break. We're going to get some fluids to replace the fluids that we're about to get rid of. We're going to have some lunch. We're going to get ready for a 3:30 press conference. Get ready for more. We'll be back later today. Thanks for watching. Later.